This show is sponsored by my new business, MA Capital. I had success in my previous business acquiring companies before I exited earlier in the year. MA Capital is set up to support business owners on that journey, whether they want to sell now or they want to set up for a profitable exit later in the future. If this has piqued your interest and you'd like to work with me, head over to macapital.co.uk. So today, guys, we've got on an entrepreneur with a £2 million window firm, a multi-million pound property portfolio, and he's also a motor and finance broker. Josh, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thanks for having me on.
How's things?
All right. All the better for being here.
Guys, just a quick one. Over 75% of our listeners aren't subscribed. So if you are enjoying this, please show some support by liking, commenting, or subscribing wherever you're watching the podcast. It'll allow us to keep getting on amazing guests, and it's massively appreciated. Back to the show. That was the introduction, but take me back to who Josh was like in school.
So Josh at school was very interesting. He's a bit of an attention seeker, a bit of a loudmouth. Probably didn't know who he was very early in life. You know, it took me a while to sort of figure out who I was, what I was. Wasn't the best at school, you know. Laugher, joker, always trying to get people's attention, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you just spoke to other people, they say, what was Josh like at school? They'll say, proper nightmare. But yeah, what was it? Like I say, I was just, didn't really know I was that early in life, really. You know, like anyone else, just didn't know where you quite fitted, whether you were a rough kid, whether you were not. And I was a bit, like I say, I was a council estate kid. You know, very proud to be that sort of lad. And something that, you know, it was never to be ashamed of. But when I was a young lad, I was probably a little bit ashamed of it. You know, like mum didn't really work. She was sort of had her troubles with her mental health over the years. And, you know, it was just, you know, when you were a bit younger, you know, the fear of like not being fitting in and stuff like that. So I'd say that was probably a little bit how I was as a child, going through school. Probably a bit of maybe he's not the roughest kid, but a little bit rough. And, you know, maybe he's always trying to hide it a little bit. You don't try to be someone you maybe he's not. And that's sort of like always being a bit of a pretender. I'd say that's what I was.
Why do you reckon that was?
Just out of, like I say, coming from a bit of a background, you know, where it's a bit of a humble start. You know, you always want to look a little bit more better than what you are. Do you know where I'm coming from? So I would say it probably comes from a bit of that, really.
So you left school with good grades, bad grades, went into college. What was that sort of?
Well, do you know what's funny about it? So I've always never been the best reader and writer. Not brilliant. Been a good talker, never been a good reader and writer. So when it comes to grades, it's funny that. So in my exams at school, probably shouldn't really say this, but I will. I remember struggling to get into sixth form. So the done thing when I was a kid was everyone wanted to go to sixth form. I wasn't clever enough to really get in there. So I cheated in my GCSE exam. I sat next to a lad who was a lot brighter than what I was. But do you remember the multiple choice? Yeah. Do you remember where you do the dots?
Yeah.
Because I was half savvy. I sat next to it. I knew that I needed to get half decent maths and science grades. Well, in my science exam, I got sat next to a lad who was far better than I was. Because it was multiple choice, I just followed the dots. So I teed him up before the exam. He just pushed his paper to one side. I followed the dots. Well, and to get into sixth form, I needed basically a couple of A's. When I got sat next to this lad in the exam, I got 2 A's, didn't I? So when I went to pick up my results for GCSEs, my mates came with me, and this is the truest story you'll ever hear. They all came to see me fail. They all thought, we'll all get in, because they were all bright lads, you know, they were all better than I was. So when we went to get the exam results, they thought, we'll go and have a look, because Josh won't get in. Well, I'd literally just scraped the 5 C's that you needed to get into sixth form, but I mean, later down the line, what a waste that was, because I've never put use to any of them. But so yes, as in for grades, and that I was never the sharpest tool in the box ever. No.
What sixth form did you actually go to?
I went to Stokesley sixth form, and I was there for about 6 months. What a waste of time. Didn't want to be there. Went there because my mates were there. You know, academically pointless. You know, the only thing that I enjoyed is I did business, which I was obsessed with, and psychology, which from that is something that I've always been obsessed with from leaving school. So, but like I said, when I was doing psychology, I wasn't doing any of the work, but I was unbelievably interested in the subject and the behavioural strategies and why people behave the way they do. So, I mean, I was interested in stuff, but putting them to any use, absolutely wasted in real life.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Gisborne and I lasted the full term, but I didn't sit any exams.
Right, okay.
I didn't. I was just getting high all the time.
Sounds familiar. Well, getting high maybe not, but sounds familiar.
Yeah, I was going through a bit of a stage at that point where you're a bit lost, aren't you, when you leave school?
I was lost, yeah.
I think
definitely.
I had a bit of ambition to do something, but couldn't see a way
To channel it.
to do it, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. I can resonate with that massively.
Yeah. When did it click, do you think, for you then? Where did you go from after you left that sixth form then?
Well, do you know what? It took some, in terms of clicking, nothing clicked for me straight away. I was like, what do I do? I was just a bit lost. I was a bit bored. It was like playing with my mates. Like some of my mates had got jobs by this point. I was maybe, 17, 18, just got me test. I needed some money in my pocket. I'd just got a car that I couldn't even afford to have. I'd had this little banger black Corsa that I thought was great, but I couldn't really afford to keep it on the road because I had no money coming in. So I thought, well, what do I do? So I thought, well, I'll go to Middlesbrough College because I've always been a bit sporty. I thought, yeah, I'll go and do a sports science degree. Again, waste of time. Going somewhere where you don't want to be just because your mates are doing it. You're following that sort of that trajectory. So I went there, and again, another waste of time. But I think I went there because I got £30 a week AMA. And that was enough, 120 quid a month to keep my car on the road. Do you know what I mean? And a few nights out and meeting a few people. And like I say again, it was just not the right place for you. Do you know, you're just not knowing where to position yourself. And then from then, I asked about, I spoke to my granddad. He's been a bit of an influence on my life. He said, why don't you get yourself a trade, son? I can't put a picture on the wall, right? So, long story short, ends up getting a joinery apprenticeship with a local lad who I still keep in contact with now. So anyway, he was really up for it, never had an apprentice before. He thought, this will be class. You know, I'll get this apprentice in, it'll make my life easier, it'll carry my tools, and then I'll get a joiner outfit, cheap labour, because I think at the time I was getting £2.60 an hour. I thought, £2.60 an hour? I'll probably get about 130 quid a week. It's better than what I'm on now. So I thought, nice one. So I went to be a joiner. Wow. This story is off the scale insane. So goes to start being a joiner. Like anything, when you're brand new, you're there making the tea, whatever, carrying a toolbox. I never got any better than that. I swear to God. So I was there for about a year. The amount of mistakes that I made, this poor bloke, man, I remember doing a job with him once, and I'd see his tools, and I was useless. Concentration levels weren't there. Interest wasn't really there, or it was there for the first couple of weeks till I realised I'm getting tired at work. I don't like this. I'm not cut out for it. Early mornings, late starts, couldn't get out of bed. Just that type of lad. And anyway, the bloke I worked for, poor bloke, Lee Webster, who, like I say, I still see him now. I'll never forget going to work with him, and he was like, "Oh, Josh, right, okay, today you can." And I'd used to see the big saws like you used to use, and I thought, can't wait till I've got that big saw. So anyways, funny story. One day he was downstairs sorting a bill out with a customer, and he said, Josh, will you do me a favour? See that saw there? And I thought, this is my chance here. I got to go that big saw. Do you know what I mean? Never been on that yet. He said, cut that. There was a bit of firewood that he wanted for his log burner. And he said, and this is how much I've never concentrated on anything, when someone's speaking at me. He said, do me a favour, Josh, put all that wood to one side, and then cut all that up for my log burner. You can have a go at the saw. So there I was buzzing. I thought, cushy. So I went and got this skirting board, and I thought, right, I'll just cut it all up, cut through all this stuff.
How hard can it be?
How hard can it be? Yeah. Anyway, he was downstairs sorting cut a payment out with the customer. He said, put that one side, I'll be back up in a minute. So I did. Went through, cut all this stuff up with this saw. Comes back upstairs. He said, hey Josh, he said, where have you put all that skirting board before? I was just about to put it on now before we go. I'd only cut the customer's skirting board on. I'd just cut it up into little tiny segments like this. He went, oh my God. He went, I don't believe it. He said, we have just worked for the last 3 days for nothing. Oh. He said, that's £200 a length or whatever it was. Yeah. And honestly, the amount of stories I can give you about me not concentrating and being in this place and working for this poor lad. I mean, I had an apprentice on that thought I was going to save him some money. And I kid you not, he probably never made a quid because of the amount of mistakes. I crashed his van. I just passed my test. He went and turned the van around. I crashed it into a patio. I'll never forget one day. Do you know like a screw box that you get, right? So he took me up one day, and this is funny because he tried to punish me. So I went up. He went, will you get me my box of screws? So I picked the screw box up the wrong way around. There was 1,000 screws in this box. Smashed all over the floor. And obviously they're all in segments, so that they went everywhere. He came upstairs. He went, oh my God. He said, what are you? He said, you are the thickest lad I've ever met. So as a punishment that night, he went, you will go home tonight, get all them 1,000 screws, and you will put it back into the compartments. I'll never believe it. I went home, told me mum. I said, Mum, I have to sit up all night, put these. I told her what I did. She went, oh, that's evil. I went, no, I'm going to sort it. So I went through, picked all these 1,000 screws, put them all back into the segments, Went back to work the next morning. I said, right, I've done it. He went, right, nice one. Went and had our dinner. He went, do me a favour, Josh. Go and get me the box of screws. Did exactly the same thing the day after.
way.
Oh, he couldn't believe it. But, I mean, this was just a comedy of errors of not concentrating, not wanting to be somewhere, mind in the wrong place. You're not cut out for something, do you know what I mean? And he sat me down one day and he said, look, Josh, he said, honestly, he said, I think you need to have a real good think about what you want to do in life. He said, because if you finish your apprenticeship with me, he said, you will be the worst joiner that has ever been around this area. You will have a bad name in minutes. You will be a cowboy. No one will want you. Do you know, he said, just have a good think. He said, and he sat me down, he went, have you ever thought about getting into, because this is when the solar panels were kicking off, he went, have you ever thought about just getting into solar panels or wind farms? He said, go home and have a think about what you want to do. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to lose my job here. I couldn't afford to lose the 120 quid a week at the time. You know, when you're 17, I was like, oh my God, I will have gone a night out. I will have put fuel in my car. You know, I'll have no money. Anyway, so I went home. I went home, had a word with my granddad. He said, oh, son, you need to keep your job. So I walked back the next day. He went, have you had a think about what you want to do, son? I said, yeah. I said, I want to be a joiner. He went, oh, I don't believe it. He went, fucking hell, not again. So anyway, so that's how that worked out. But it got to the point where I was going there every day thinking, I can't do this. Like, there's no way I'm meant to be cutting wood for the rest of my life. Like I said, the lad sat me down, who Lee, who I still talk to now. He said, Josh, he said, I can't do anything else. He said, I'm made for cutting wood. He went, I can't do anything else. He went, you aren't. He went, you need to go and do something else. So I started scratching my brains about what led next. And then that's when I was back on the market looking for a job, because the joinery just never quite took off.
You obviously didn't learn anything joinery there then.
Oh, mate. It's embarrassing. Even now, my missus does all the DIY in our house. I had to pay someone to put a clock on the wall. Yeah. And I had a joinery apprentice for 15 months.
Sounds very similar to I was set up at home. We've got some baby gates to put on at the moment. I just look at them, I think, they're not the ones that extend to the wall. They're a bit fancy. I'm thinking, fucking hell.
Yeah, I know exactly what you feel
looks like a nightmare.
Flat pack furniture, it's not an option. The amount of flat pack furniture I've broke out of frustration trying to put it up, absolutely pointless. You know, non-starter for me.
I think you're that way inclined, or you're not, aren't you? But can you, thinking back, is the stuff that you actually learned from that apprenticeship that you've took forward?
Honestly, out with joinery, no, not one bit.
Not one joinery. Anything else, like nothing. Any personal skills or?
Oh no, nothing. The only thing I've learned there is I've known what it's like to not want to go to work. That's all. I've never had that feeling ever in my life since that day. But I used to think about, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. This is just not me.
That's mega, that though.
Honestly, I'd like to say there was something I learned. The only thing I learned is the feeling of not wanting to do something. You know,
that's mega though, isn't it? Wow.
Well, I was skint as well. I had no money. You know, and sometimes it just taught me how to think, this can't go on forever. This I'll never be. I sat down with a customer once. I still see him now, and he still mentions this story in the pub every time I see him. He goes, Josh, I remember being sat on a step with you when you were a kid, and you were saying, I'm better than this, you know. I'll do more than this in my life. And he keeps mentioning it now, and he went, every time I see him in the pub, he says, I'll never forget that conversation we had on that step with you going, I won't be doing this forever, you know. I won't be doing this forever. And I always knew it, but I just didn't know how to get out of it, you know. It's just that finding your little niche of waiting for something to kick off. And sometimes you just sit there, don't you? You just sit there in the traps, and you just don't get the best of starts. And that's exactly where I was, really. I was, you know, just hadn't quite clicked for me.
What was next after that?
So what was next after that? So I needed a job. So I looked online. I'll look at a business admin apprenticeship. One of my mates went through the North East Chamber of Commerce and he turned into a shipping broker. And I thought, sounds like a mint job, that. I said, how did you get into that? He said, go to the NECC or whatever it was. And he goes, go on there. So I went on there looking for an apprenticeship. Yeah. So looked at apprenticeships, thought, I'll try and get into oil and gas, wind farms, whatever. So when I looked, and all I could see was business admin apprenticeships. And I seen one come up, business admin apprenticeship, at a company doing solar panels and things like that. So I applied for it. They were on the phone straight away. I thought, that's good. But the only reason I applied for it is because every apprenticeship at the time was like 120 quid a week. This one paid 250. I thought, 250 quid a month, 250 quid a week. I thought, what am I going to do with all that? Do you know what I mean? It was double the money. I thought, I wouldn't even be able to spend it. Anyway, went down for the interview. It turns out it wasn't a business admin apprenticeship. It was a call centre. So they put it online to try and get call centre staff as an apprenticeship. Well, obviously it worked, didn't it? But I thought, 250 quid a week. Unbelievable. Life changed overnight. Do you know what I mean? Like, insane. So went down. They said, yeah. So I had a bit of a chat. So what do you do? They said, well, basically we're It's a business admin apprenticeship, but basically they just stuck a phone in front of me and they basically said, when do you want to start? Basically just put a handset in there and said, when do you want to go? And I was like, to me it was great though, because I needed a job. It was 250. I was getting double the money, even though it wasn't a lot. I thought it was life changing. So long story short, this business admin apprenticeship was cold calling, job sat behind a desk ringing 10,000 numbers a day. People hated, you remember the cold calling? People hated in the telephone preference service, and like people just thought, oh, they're annoying me, and that doesn't happen nowadays, does it? But so now I'll never forget. So how did I get into it? So I goes at this job, and I thought, just ring up and talk to people all day. I thought, I'll be class at that. I'll be absolutely class at that. So anyway, I'm sat around, and basically what happened is print you, it was called data. So they used to buy a phone number, address, and a name, and they'd give you maybe 10,000 numbers, and you basically go, right. So I sat down and I said, right, what do we do? I said, basically you just ring up and you just say, hey there, we're in the area, we do solar panels, want to save you money on your electricity bills. Do you remember when all this feed-in tariff and solar panels was massive like 10 years ago? And you ring up and just say, we're in the area, do you want a price? More or less. So I sat on there and like the training they gave me was about 10 minutes. But one thing I'll never forget, the manager of the call centre, he must have and I think he quite moulded me quite well. He said, look mate, he said, you can come here. He said, it can be everything you want it to be. He said, once you pick that phone up and dial that number, he said, you can be anyone you want to be down that phone. And I thought, and it still sticks with me to this day. I thought, I can be anyone I want to be. I've been bullshitting this. Like, I'd been bullshitting my way through life. Do you know what I mean? I thought, anyone I want to be, I'll be anyone I want to be. Yeah, this is sound. So anyway, gets on the phone. Natural. Honestly, literally dialing a number. I thought it was the best thing in the world. I thought I was going to a playground all day. I was ringing up, having crack with people, making appointments, and it just happened, you know what I mean? And this call centre job, this could be the worst job in the world or the best job in the world.
Yeah.
That was the best teaching for me I've ever seen, because I just found that path. And when we were talking about things clicking, I'd go to work and people would be like, what do you do? I'd be like, what the calls? Well, I was a telecanvasser, really, telephone canvasser. And I just loved it. And I just found out, and because I was speaking to that many people every day, ringing 1,000 numbers a day, whatever it was, booking appointments, finding out about them, being nosy, picking people's brains. That's all I was doing, was picking brains constantly. I loved it. I'd make appointments for all the salesmen, and then next thing people were going, I'll tell you what, that Josh knows how to do this job, doesn't he? I mean, I was only maybe 18 at the time, 19. I was class, first class, on the end of the phone, being anyone I wanted to be. Well, that sort of created me this personality. And I met the owner of this company. Honestly, he's been a bit of a breeding ground for a lot of people, to be honest. A lot of successful people have come out of that call centre. So I met this guy. I'll mention his name. He was called Jeff Longstaff. He's a bit of a name in our industry, but he's just a character, maverick. He was a maverick. And I used to see him. He used to come in suited and booted. He used to wear a Versace tie. He looked the bollocks. Do you know what I mean? I was only a young kid. I used to be in awe of him. I thought, I want to be like that. I didn't quite know who I was yet, though. Do you know what I mean? And I used to see him having conversations with people, and like he'd walk in, and he had a bit about him. Do you know what I mean? Like the air change when he was in there. People go, oh, he's in. Do you know what I mean? He was a bit of a character, a bit of crack with people. Yeah, humble start, and just he was a bit of a sales guy. And I used to look at him. I think, I'm going to learn off you. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to get close to you. I'm going to learn off you. I'm going to learn your traits, the way you go about with people. I was learning this quite early, so you mature very fast. And then I thought, when I used to make all these appointments for people, ringing up, going, can we send the guy out, measure your roof and all the rest of it? I thought, I used to see the sales reps turning up, nice fancy suit, nice black Merc, briefcase, the look, the bollocks. I thought, I want that job. So I used to make these calls for these reps. I thought, well, I want to be in that position. So once I started gathering a bit of traction, I started begging. So I used to go to the owner and go, how do I get that job? He said, sorry mate, you can't be a rep till you're 25 years old. I thought, fuck. He was like, yeah, you're not old enough to sell the finance. You have to be 25. Little did I know this was bullshit. This was because I was making that many appointments for the sales reps. If he loses his lead machine, and the little team he had around me, then the reps have got less appointments. It's a problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kept knocking on the door, and they said, no, you're not old enough. So I went, right, all right then, so someone else will give me a job. So I didn't have a clue. Didn't know anything about windows, doors, solar panels, nothing. So I just made up a lie. I said, well, I've got a job at Everest. First thing I'd Google. Didn't even know anything about windows or doors. As soon as I told them I had a job elsewhere, oh, no worries, lads, we'll get you started. So that's when I went from being a telecanvasser to being out on the road, being a rep. And then, funny enough, the lad who taught me, we've turned out to be best of mate. Now, he's older than me. Funnily enough, he's my next door neighbour now, which is one of the most beautiful stories ever, really. So yeah, went on to be a sales rep. So I'll never forget my first day. He said, right, I'll get you in. I'll give you a couple of weeks training. So I thought, well, this is the big step for me now. You know, I was on the call centre, you know, my life had got a little bit better. I'd started to make some commission. I'd started to make a little bit of money, but I really wanted to go to the next level. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to really get through the gears. So I went to be a double glazing salesman. So as you do, green as grass, wet behind the ears. You go down to Primark, you get yourself you get yourself a blue shirt, a purple shirt, brand fire. So going back, so I went out and bought a few ties and what I could and a little briefcase and, you know, ready for my first couple of weeks training. So how they used to start you off where I used to work is you get 2 weeks training and then at the end of that 2 weeks, you get another 2 weeks out on your own. So you'd get 4 weeks pay. And then after your 4 weeks pay, it's commission only. But anything, you got 2 weeks training, your next 2 weeks, you'd go out and sell. Whatever you sold in them 2 weeks, that'd be your first wage when you come back, yeah? You're out in the commission only world. No basic wages, you know, it was just, and I just thought, well, I've got nothing to lose here. So did my training, you know, and my little cheap shirt and all the rest of it. And I just loved it. I met a guy who said to me, he said, Josh, I'm going to teach you how to sell. And then after that, once you've learned how to sell, I'll teach you how to make money. And I thought there's not a better saying than that because I know loads of people and there's still to this day, they can sell, but they don't know how to make money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a big, big difference. And I'll never forget that. So anyway, I went out and again, duck to water. You know, this thing, as soon as I got in front of customers in their own home, having a bit of crack, wanting to be there more than anything. And I think that's why I got off so well to a good start. I wanted to be with them customers. I wanted to have that crack. I wanted to have a cup of tea. You know, I wanted to learn off them. I wanted to be nosy. I wanted to know how they got that house. You know, how do I get my own house? You can only do that through learning. What job pays? How did you get that money? You know, being that inquisitive person. And I've always been that, even from a young age. Like one of my best mates, mum and dad, said to me when I went round their house when I was a young lad. I think I went round with my mum. And like I said, we never owned our own house. You know what I mean? And I went round their house. They had a nice big house. And apparently I stood there when I was a kid, and it went. I'll have one bigger than this one day. Do you know? My mate's mum still reminds me of that now. She goes, "I'll never forget when you were coming out of our house. You look round, you went, I'll have a better house than this one day." I think I was about 7 or 8. You know, and it's funny.
You need that, don't you? You need that.
But there was something there, wasn't there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I always knew I used to be obsessed with MTV Cribs. Do you remember Cribs on the telly?
Yeah.
And I used to watch it, and I used to love these big flash houses. And I just thought, you know, there's something there. And you now looking back, you realise that it's not an accident. You know, you've always geared yourself up for where you're going. And I just realised when I got to being this window salesman, we used to basically get 10% commission on whatever you sold, whatever the price of the customer paid, you'd get 10%.
How much were the customers spending?
Oh, I mean, at the time I used to sell driveways, windows, whatever. I mean, they'd spend anywhere between 3 and 12 grand. Anything over that was quite big because don't forget this is like 10 years ago. So like 10 grand is not what it was. Like 10 grand now I feel is nowhere near what it was then. I mean, if you sold a job for 10 grand, they'd go, oh, 10 grand. You know, where nowadays it's a bit of the norm. But so yeah, I mean, it's maybe, I'll never forget sort of like one of my first orders. I'd sold it for 8 grand, a driveway for 8 grand. I think it was in one of my first starts actually. You know, once I'd just got out on the road. So like I said to you there, when I'd got into being a rep, just changed my life instantly. Within 2 weeks, I'd bought myself this black Merc that everyone else was driving about in. So I'll tell you the story. Goes out, does me a couple of weeks. Before my second week of training had finished, they'd already started to put me out on the leads. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't getting the good leads. I was getting all the leads that the lads who had been there years didn't want. Do you know what I mean? I remember a bloke I used to work with, Sounds a Pound, who was called Hamid. He used to dish me the appointments. I didn't realise that these like reps were travelling. I thought you'd get your car, you'd go around the area. Passes me this, usually got a bit of paper, and the postcode said SR on it. I'd never seen it. I didn't even know what an SR postcode was. I looked at it. I went, "Where's that?" He went,
Peterlee, isn't it?
Peterlee?
Yeah.
Sunderland, Peterlee. I went, "That's 30 mile away." He just laughed at me. He went, "Oh," he said, "There's no such thing as a local rep, son." Do you know what I mean? So I'll never forget going up to Peterlee. For me, I thought, God, Peterlee. I thought, I'm going to be doing that every day. It's going to cost me a fortune in fuel. That's why they were laughing because I didn't have a clue. So comes out with this being a window salesman. Honestly, loved it. Sat on your ass all day, and someone said there's an appointment there, get to the house. Couldn't have suited me any better. I love sitting down. Do you know what I mean? I love not moving. Do you know, I absolutely loved it. So get out me 2 weeks of training and start getting onto the leads. Well, I think my second lead, I sold it for 8 grand. And then I had 2 weeks of this, and it was going to clock my money up, 2 weeks worth of money.
Were you scared to close it? Like, obviously, you built the rapport with the customer, you'd put your package together or whatnot, but Were you scared to actually like close and go in for the kill? Or?
Yeah, of course I was. Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
absolutely shitting myself. Yeah, because even though it's natural to them, you're only going into someone's house and having a conversation. But I'm shitting myself, waiting for someone to go yes, like because I never forgot I was taught to go out, do your dem, whether it was a driveway or whatever. You'd go through the process, show them how a window opened and closed, go through the locking mechanism, do a full pitch in the front room, and then deliver the price, and then just sit and wait for but the problem was, Matt, when I was doing that and my knees were knocking. This young kid who was in a set of braces at 19 asking someone for $8,000, and I'll never forget my first yes. And my boss at the time, because he used to get like a little couple of % on whatever I'd sold, And I went out and measured this drive, and I don't think the company thought the drive was as big as what it was when I got there, because they wouldn't have given it to me. They'd just give me the little one. Do you know what I mean? And I sold it for $8,000. I'll never forget. I made £800. I'd been in there about an hour and a half, and I thought, so anyways, goes round, sees this woman. She went, oh yeah, I want me drive done. If it's the right sort of money, I'll have it. Give her all this, that, and the other. And to be honest, I think it was just a bit of a nice lead. And she just went, yeah, I'll have that. I sold it, made £800 in about an hour.
What did you feel?
I was like, oh my god, what did I feel like? I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, how am I going to spend all that? What am I going to do with it? Because I'd maybe
6 weeks work, innit?
Mate, it was mad. Yeah, I was maybe when I was in the call centre, I was maybe making £300 or £400 a week. But I made £800 in an hour. And that's when I just knew we're on to something here. All I need is more appointments, because I'll get them people to say yes. And tell you what, once you've had your first yes, mate, I felt like I was walking on water. I was walking around the town a foot taller. Do you know what I mean? I thought, I can't sell anything. And this is what I'm meant to do. And do you know what, like I said, when I was on that building site, the feelings between that and this, I just thought, I was made to do this. I was made to sell. I was made to be in front of people. And I just felt like I was a bit of an actor, a bit of a showman. And it took me back to being at school. When you're just that bit of a class clown, and my businesses are a bit modelled on that now. Bit of a laugh, bit of a joke, bit of crack. But people want to do business with light-hearted folk, don't they? And I mean, I just started getting appointments, and I'll never forget. I did my first week of training, and then my second week, and then I picked up like £1,700, right? But you'd get it weekly. So my first wage, I think, was £1,680 for the first week. I'd sold 2 or 3 jobs, a couple of little ones, and then that big £800. And I picked my first wage up, and I was like, oh my God, car shopping. First thing, went out, rang my granddad, said, right, we're going to get a black Mercedes, because I'd seen all these lads, pulling up, and they had a black Merc and a briefcase and a nice suit, and I was like, within 2 weeks, I'm there. Went out, got myself this little black Mercedes. I thought I was the bollocks. Do you know what I mean? I'm not kidding you. I thought I was the bollocks of Borough. And that was it. Like I say, as soon as I got into being a windowsill.
Top spec Merc as well? Was it?
I remember it was a 59 plate. It was 2-year-old.
2-year-old.
I think it had about 12,000 miles on. I can't remember. It was a nice car.
Yeah.
I remember pulling it back up and people were going, what's he doing? It was a big thing then. Like, it was a nice car. I mean, I was maybe 18, 19, and
yeah.
Oh, it was a proper car, yeah. I was buzzing, and I'll never forget, about 2 weeks later, one night out with my mate and reversed it into a yellow lamppost. But hey, that's another story. But yeah, I mean, like I say, as soon as I found my path there, it was just, I was carved, and I was obsessed. Brian Tracy books, sales books, psychology, and then this is where it sort of kicked back in. When I was at school, I was obsessed with psychology, and then when I started watching a lot of videos on Brian Tracy and salespeople, and the psychology just all went hand in hand, and I was obsessed, just wanted to learn more. I'd be the lad who's sitting up till 1, 2 in the morning, can't wait to get back out in front of customers tomorrow. All I knew was that if every single customer that gets sat in front of me, that's an opportunity for me to make money. Doesn't matter who they are. And then I started networking with other people, and, bigger friendship groups, bigger people, with older people. And, and as soon as I sort of transitioned through this window sales, I got a name very fast in the industry. People were like, oh, that's Josh Thompson. That, and it got to the point where I went out and bought myself a set of braces. I thought it was on Wall Street. What a crank. Biggest clown, honestly, one of the biggest clowns walking. I had a set of braces on. You speak to any of my mates, I'll never forget when I used to go about in a pet set of braces. Honestly, selling windows, unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, I just got a bit of a name. People were like, we want him here, and then I knew, but I had this tool to make money, and the tool was me. This tool was me. Go and sit in front of people, have a chat, and I've got everything I need now, and I used to remember, and I'd go out and I'd start selling, and there'd be people going, I'd never forget, I used to sit, and don't get me wrong, there was lads who'd sit, I used to work with, window salesmen, who'd be sit there, they'd smoke 40 tabs a day, make no money. No hunger, no drive, no ambition. They were in that job because that's just where they'd ended up. where I just started this out and I thought, wow, the world is my oyster here. And I had these good, influential people around me, and all I wanted to do is listen. Tell me more. Tell me how you did it. Tell me, all these big characters. Because this window place that I worked at was a bit of a melting pot for people. I mean, like I say, being a window salesman can be the worst job in the world, or it can be the best job in the world. And I mean, you can apply that to any form of business. Any sales fronted, it's the best job in the world or the worst job in the world. It's how much you apply yourself and you want it and the hunger. And I mean, I absorbed so much time of other people just going, tell me how we do it. I must have been this little kid. We can't get rid of this lad. Just stop asking me questions. I was always that lad. Stop asking me questions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is he asking so many questions? So I used to go and sit in other people's meetings. So I'll never forget the lad who lives next door to me now. He's done really, really well for himself. But he also had another team, we're all splitting their teams and they all had managers. Well, I used to go and sit in all the other managers' meetings because I wanted to know how he does it. I don't want to just learn off you. I want to be learning off you. I want a bit of you. I want a bit of you. And I want a bit of the owner. And
how did you get in those meetings?
I just stand up. I was ballsy. I was never scared to ask. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, you ask this now. If anyone asks me, they go, "Fuck, Josh, he's not scared what he says." I like to know. If I thought you had a secret, I'd ask you about it. Tell me what it is. How are you doing that? We'll talk about it. Let's engage. Let's collaborate, like how we would call it nowadays. Let's pick each other's brains. Where 10 years ago wasn't really a thing. That it was like everyone kept it a bit of a secret. Doing well was a bit of a secret. You shouldn't be telling people. When I was 18, I couldn't care less. Do you know what I mean? People go, "How are you doing?" I got mint. Yeah, class, selling loads of jobs. And then as soon as this traction sort of built, and I was getting this bit of a name in the people going, "Oh, that's Josh." People go, "Oh, yeah, he's a bit of a dickhead, though, Josh." And he, just all a bit brash and that. Going out selling loads of jobs, ripping old people off. That's what I'm coming from a little small village, great, and it was very smart. It's still like that now, very small minded. You should hide your money under the bed and say now. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. But because I wanted to prove myself and I was only this young kid coming from a bit of a shitty background, I had this chip on my shoulder going, "No, I'm going to show you how it is." Do you know what I mean? And at a young age, I did start making some good, I'd started to make some good returns. But I earned every penny of it, The amount of times I'd sit around with these lads that I was talking about that you used to work with, and an appointment had come in for 7 o'clock at night through the Tyne Tunnel, and they'd go, "Don't want that." I'd be going, "Give it to you. Pass me it." And I'd take it off some bloke who'd been there, maybe he's, I don't know, 10 years. I'd take the appointment, go up there, sell it, come back and go, "How'd you get on with that?" I go, "Made $1,000. Just because you didn't want it, because of your attitudes cost you that. But I mean, doing this at like 19 years old in your new car, you were a bit of a cock, do you know what I mean? And I accept that, that's how you were, but when you're making your world, you want to try and prove a point. You've got to try and make a bit of traction, haven't you? You've got to cut through, and that's how I did it. And it was purely by working later, seeing the customers that people didn't want. I'd go and make money out of people that other people didn't want to see. No problem. I'll sweep the shit up and I'll make money out of it. And I used to love it. Mate, I was obsessed. I'm still obsessed now. I love a deal. There's no one I know that loves a deal more than me. Doesn't matter if it's a 20 quid, doesn't matter if it's 200 grand. I love a deal. Love it. It's what I get out of bed for. I absolutely obsessed with doing deals and meeting people.
I think there's a massive value there I think there's a lot of young lads at the moment don't really know what to do, and then they get stuck and don't try anything. But listen to your story there. You were willing to go try that the joinery job. You were willing to then go into the call centre or get a business admin apprenticeship.
Well, I didn't have a choice, did I?
Yeah.
I had no money. So, it's like, the problem is now...
You could have signed on, though. You could have just...
Well, yeah, could have, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, you could have signed on, but when it comes to, I know when people talk about the kids of today, the problem is not everyone wants to dig holes, do they? I was the lad who didn't want to go out and dig a hole. I didn't want to get stuck in. I wanted to get stuck in other ways. And I think nowadays, there's so many options of how not to get stuck in. Do you know, there's that many options of social media, website stuff, development, marketing. There's a lot of ways where you don't have to leave the house to make a couple of bob. Do you know where I'm coming from? I was lucky that it just fell into my lap. Or I could still be searching of what I wanted to do. I could be that bloke who's not very positive and has a bit negative about everything just because you haven't had your go. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about when you get people in life where they're a bit bitter, but that's only because they haven't had the luck. They're a bit negative and a bit shitty with people doing all right, but that's just because they just haven't found their straps. And I can sort of see that. And I'm massively positive. Like my wife, she hates how positive I am in the house. When something goes tits up, she can't stand it because I'm coming in going, "Don't worry about that. That's not a problem." There's always an opportunity in every bit of shit that you'll find. And I know there's loads of books out there and stuff that you'll listen to. There's an opportunity in every disaster. I love it when things go tits up because you can learn it loads. And there's always an opportunity for somewhere. And I mean, there's been a million. I mean, I'm only 30, but there's been a million examples of where things in my life have gone tits up and wow, come out butter side up, you know, just because you got stuck in and, you know, you lost a few quid here and things didn't go right for you and you got a bit of a bad press for something like that. But come out the other side of it and you've always got the story to tell. Someone else is always going to want to listen to it, especially when you lose. Telling all my mates and people like that, they're always very interested in the stories about where it didn't go very well for you. And I've always been open and honest about that. You know, I don't mind telling the best teachings. I have a friend, and over time I got very lucky to meet some people in high places. And I have a friend who was a hedge fund at Goldman Sachs, and he said one of the biggest teachings you ever get there is a good smack in the pocket. When you lose money, don't look at it as losing money. Look at it as a tuition fee. And I've always thought that, you know, when you lose money, don't look at it, or, you know, when a business fails or things don't go great for you, just because it's not all rosy and you're not hitting your straps straight away, it's a tuition fee. Don't worry about it. Fail. Go out and fail. I failed loads of times. I've done loads of things where I've set them up and they just haven't quite got going. You know, it just hasn't hit straps straight away. It doesn't make any money. You know, I've done a couple of little things where I always wanted to own a few things. Do you know what I mean? I always wanted to do loads of things. I didn't just want one thing on the go. You know, because that's how my brain works. You know, you need to do loads of stuff. You know, if you want to get where you want to be, you're gonna have to do a few things. Do you know where I'm coming from?
100%.
And a couple of them few things didn't work. You know, I'll never forget buying a load of Hoovers. Oh, this is a story. Went out and bought 50 container of Dyson Hoovers. It was just a bit of extra income. We'd set our firm up and stuff like that. Just needed a bit of extra, you know, just a bit of top up. Went out and bought a load of Hoovers second hand. Thought I'll sell all these to all my mates' mums. Well, as soon as I told everyone I had some Dyson Hoovers, everyone was like, oh, Josh has got a load of Dysons in. We'll go and buy them. So anyway, text everyone. I had a load of Dysons sold. Didn't realise they're all reconditioned. 4 weeks in, everyone's Hoovers started blowing up. I was like, oh God, what's happened here? Like my mate's mums were going, you know that Hoover you sold our mum? Blew up in black smoke in the front room the other day, and I was like, oh, you are joking. So they all had to go back. But, you know, you don't always make the right decision, do you?
Yeah.
You know, I have thousands of ideas go through my head every day. One of them might be any good. One. But the one that's good's good. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting little journey.
One of the ones that was good was obviously Endeavour Windows.
Endeavour Windows, you know, it's a good business. You know, like I said to you before, when I become a window salesman, when you're in that environment of commission only and when you're in the environment of doing the deal there and then, there's a lot of things that I learned from that business which were great for closing a deal. They were great for learning life, but they weren't the best businesses. They were stuck in the times and they weren't moving on. You know, I worked at some other places after that and, you know, they were all about getting the deal there and then. And it was all about getting the yes out of the customer. And we realised, I'm a business partner, so like I said to you before, I got one of my best friends into windows and doors with me.
You talk about, obviously, the transition from the sales role to then starting that business. How did that come about?
What happened is I got headhunted and approached to go to a big solar panel company to come and basically, because I had a name in the area, that's Josh, and he sells windows, and I had a little team going, I got approached to go to another company. They were a big solar panel company, and the solar panels were coming up a bit of an end, so they had this massive sales force, big telephone sales operation, and they had no product to sell. So basically, they just tried to turn it into a window company overnight. So they came, approached Josh. You know, he's the man who comes and he'll be the front man. He'll bring the team over, and then we just go out and we go and sell, which we did. So we went out there and I started working for them, and then we were working all over the country selling windows and their business. I went over there because at the time it was a pretty pay packet for me. You know, and I very self-centred, went there, took my team, but only because it benefited myself. You know, I took my lads, I said, right, I'll get you loads of leads. And the lads I was working with at the time, like my best friend, wasn't getting many leads at the old place. So he needed leads. He'd only just got into the industry, needed more leads. So I took him over with me, set it up, and the business didn't do very well. I mean, it was turning money over. It was great for me, but it wasn't great for the actual business. Yeah, like, because you know, the solar panels at the time were a big thing, and as soon as they went down, like managing a window business is not an easy business. But what I did learn from being at all of these businesses was the world was changing. People weren't buying on the day off a sales rep or off someone who knocked at your door an hour ago. That is a bit of a thing of the past. So as things were at this company were getting worse, and luckily I'd made my stamp, I'd bought some properties, and I didn't really need the money at the time. I was quite self-sufficient. My bills weren't very big. So I always felt, because I am the tool to all this, as soon as someone doesn't make the right noises, and I mean, I was going on holiday, I was going to Marbella on a whim, I'd go away for the weekend, and people going, you're off again? I'm going, yeah. And then as soon as people try to put stuff to my holidays, I went, well, I just won't work, just wrap the job in, no problem. Like, people were like, going, 20-year-old kid just telling me to wrap his job in. Like,
That's how old
like
you were
this
at
is
the
like
time.
20-year-old, 20, maybe he's 21, something like that. Maybe
And you bought your first properties by then, or?
I bought the police. I bought the police station.
Yeah.
So I bought that. I mean, that was a pretty big move. And then, so I went to obviously was working there, and like because I'd been a good saver, didn't go out blow my money, always saved, because I always thought this could all end tomorrow. This could all go tits up tomorrow, and I still feel like that now. Do you know what I mean? I always think this could all be gone tomorrow. So yeah, so I started working at this company. But what I learned at these places was how not to run your business, how not to get repeat business. Because I used to work in businesses, like when I worked locally in Middlesbrough, when I worked away, customers weren't ringing us back for more work. You'd sell them once, you know, and I thought this is just not the right approach. And my business partner who had a previous business, he was involved in the fruit and veg, where you need repeat business. You can't sell one man an orange and then he doesn't come back. Do you know what I mean? He needs to buy an orange every week, or, you know, that sort of principle. And he just said, and it wasn't my idea, setting Endeavour Windows up. I was always the guy that we wanted to be the main man for someone else. As long as I was the main man for someone else, that's all I cared about. And he sat me down one day, me and my business partner, when things were getting a bit like not what we wanted. He said, obviously we're two lads from Great Ayton, Captain Cook was born in Great Ayton. He sat next to me and, why didn't we do this on our own? I went, what do you mean? Where are we going to get the windows from? He went, we'll find someone. I went, all right. And he went, yeah, he said, we'll call it Endeavour Windows. I went, Endeavour Windows? He went, yeah, Captain Cook's bought. I went, all right, that sounds mint.
How old were you?
He was a little bit older than me at the time. I think I was maybe 22. Okay, no. 22. Well, I'm 30 now. Maybe 22, 23. He sat me down and he went, Endeavour Windows. As soon as he said Endeavour Windows, I thought, I'm going around going. In my own head, I'm thinking, it's always clever to use Endeavour. You know, I got all these slogans thinking, oh my, and then that was it. And then Endeavour Windows was, my business partner gets all the credit for it because it was him who was like, we'll do this on our own. And he'd already done this on his own when he had a fruit shop. You know, he'd always paved that way. And I said, right, okay. Then that's how Endeavour Windows started. So we started up, but we always started up. We never wanted to be the next big thing. We wanted to be the biggest thing around here. Do you know where I'm coming from?
What do you mean?
So when you set up a business, you want to be the next big thing. You want to be like international. You want to go, you know, you've got big dreams, but we wanted to be the biggest thing in Middlesbrough very quickly. So we set this business up, and one thing we wanted to do was give the customer value for money. Get that customer telling everybody else. Do a good job and be competitive on your price. Buy very well from your suppliers. Fit well. Get recommendations, because then you're not spending your money on your marketing. You know, do the small stuff well. You know, customer service, smile on your face. Do a good job. Build a brand. Whereas everywhere else we'd never been to these businesses, there were direct sales companies that would nail you there and then, which we worked in. You know, it was a bit more like that then, but it wasn't about being a brand. We wanted to build a brand, and Endeavour Windows, we focused on constantly becoming that brand. Don't rely on people going out knocking doors for you, cold calling people. So we very early on, you'll know Martin Shops if you're a Middlesbrough lad, there was an opportunity to get a showroom, and showrooms weren't really a thing unless you were this big company. So we thought at first, right, well, what we're going to do? And we got the opportunity to get Chris Kamara. So we thought, we'll go on the radio. So how do we get known at Endeavour Windows apart from selling a couple of windows here and a couple of windows there? So we went out and we built, some traction up off some existing customers we'd had, and we got the ball rolling. Do you know what I mean? We were selling a couple of windows. We got one window fitter. We'd got a little window factory we were buying off, and then we rented a little office in there upstairs. We built this little wooden box upstairs in a window factory, and they said, we used to rent it for £50 a week, an office. We built this little wooden shed upstairs in the window factory, so we were upstairs and working from my kitchen at home with a couple of whiteboards and doing 2 jobs a week, thinking we were class.
How much were you making then? Were you making more than your sales job? Or?
No, not making, no.
So you were happy to take a pay cut at that point to build this brand?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, luckily for me that I'd had some good jobs beforehand, so it wasn't risk-free, but I didn't need to be making a wage straight away. But I mean, no, the answer to making money with Endeavour Windows is no. It's been a slow burner, and what you don't take into consideration is your own wage when you're building a brand. It's build the brand and, right, we've got a spare 300 or 400 quid. Right, we'll put some stickers on a van. Let's put our logo on a van, because that's what matters, and that's how, you take a little bit for yourself, and stickers on a van, couple of body warmers, some new fancy polos, whatever mattered, go and buy a pad of contracts or some paperwork and a couple of whiteboards, stuff like that. So no, Endeavour Windows has been a good brand, but it's been built layer on layer over time. And, and you don't always do the job right when you first start out. You learn a few lessons, you get a few things wrong, you lose some money, and you go, glad I lost. Well, at the time, it's the most heartbreaking thing in the world. But you learn, don't you? It's the tuition fee that I go back to. It's constantly that tuition fee of losing money. It is the best teaching you'll ever have. Make sure you lose your own money. Don't lose someone else's, because when it's someone else's, I know that now from having my own business. When someone loses your money, believe me, they don't care. But when you lose your own, you don't make many mistakes twice. Not many at all.
Were you making sales straight away, or did it take you a period of time?
No, we were selling everything in front of us.
So you were making sales?
Always.
Yeah.
We've never had... The people we sat in front of were good people. People buy off us, we're a good brand. What we're about is good. It was getting in front of people. No one had heard of you. You can't live on 1 or 2 sales a week. But me and him we were only getting in front of 1 or 2 sales a week, in front of 2 people. Yeah, and to this day, we're 7 years on. We convert as a company 75% of the leads we visit. The stats are insane, but that's because it's built on value and it's built on customer value, relationships where we want repeat customer, and it's competitive pricing. You can't go around chasing this golden goose, as we used to call it, because sometimes the golden goose just dies in front of you. Whereas it's about repeat, it's about, he's a good lad. He did me mum's windows. He's a good lad. He did this. He's a good lad. He did so-and-so. Do you know where I'm coming from? Mm-hmm. So it's all about repeat customers, treating the customer right, doing a good job. And if there is a problem, making sure that customer's comfortable enough to be open enough to have that conversation when you come back and go, hey, there's a bit of a problem here. And we take great pride in, we actually, part of our sales pitch now, and that's company values, to go to people as if there probably will be a problem. Handles, hinges, locks, some brand new ones can break, but we're there to put it right, and we're all with that comfort blanket. And, we went on and got our own showroom, and, we definitely didn't hit with a load of orders, because how could we? All we started with a Facebook page and a couple of sponsored ads. But, and like I say, my business partner's always been a big believer. We do the same job, but we're 2 very different people. I'm the loon with all the ideas and go, right, we're doing this. Yes, don't say no to anything. I'm the biggest yes man you've ever seen. If you said I've got the biggest problem in the world and I don't have the time for it, I'll go, yeah, I'll sort it for you, mate. No problem, let's do it. Do you know where I'm coming from? Yeah. And he's like, every idea, and I need him, because you can't say yes to everything. And every time I have the biggest idea in the world, he just goes, whoa, let's just stick the anchors on this. Let's just drop the anchor down here. But yeah, so we've built the brand purely on being a good company, good values. It's not about, if you work good and your work is good and you deliver the right thing. And we're very interested on a good quality product, very interested on absolute quality in that customer's home. And over time, that's where the rewards come. The rewards come later down the line by building the good brand. What is the reward? Well, the reward we have now is we don't spend money on marketing, because we built this up. Do you know what I mean? Where a lot of companies go, well, we need to spend so much to get so many leads. Well, yes, you do. But what you need to do is the people who've already bought off you, keep them right. Get them buying again. Get them doing it for you. And, there's no one, and I learned this when I moved into other industries, but there's no one who will shout about you more than someone who thinks they've saved a few quid. If they think they've got good value, they'll tell everyone. And everyone knows a bloke down the pub who goes, oh, that's a fortune, I paid this. Well, be that company to start off with, and be that company that people trust. And I always had a lot of respect for Frank's factory flooring, yeah? Everyone knows who they are, and everyone knows they're not dear. Do you know what I mean? Like, if someone goes, like, everyone goes to Frank's. Doesn't matter who you are. You go and have a look down, don't you, and compare your price or whatever. But everyone knows they're not dear. They're always, because they've created that friendly environment and a bit of a laugh and a giggle. I love carpets, mate. Everyone knows it because they've just built that bit of trust and a bit of a laugh and a giggle and reasonable price, and everyone goes there. You've heard of them. And we always wanted to be that company. We never wanted to be the next big thing, but we wanted to be the biggest thing that's going to be around here for when your windows and doors. Yeah.
Did you have any regrets when you first started? Obviously, you've turned away. I mean, you've started this business. You're not earning nowhere near as much as you could be. Did you have any regrets?
I mean, a regret. It's a good question. None that spring to mind, as in a regret. No. I would have liked to have got everything right from the start, but you don't, do you? It's nice to sit down and you and your business partner make the right decision all the time, but you don't. But on minor things more than anything else. But one thing I would have learned is when you're new to a business, you don't buy very well. So we would go to people going, hey, so once we started building up the first year, I think over our first 18 months, we were £1 million business in the first 18 months, which is, it's good,
It is.
But the order values were good. People were coming to us spending 10, 15 grand and feeling comfortable, we weren't a pretender. We were a good operator to start with. But one thing I would say is, which we've probably only learned in the last couple of years, is buying better. So you go out and you think, well, that's the product, and you don't really know. On a domestic level, we were good sellers. Commercially and business to business, we weren't very good buyers. So we would be buying our product in quite expensive. But because we were young lads, I think a lot of the people, the suppliers, the glass people, the manufacturers looked at us going, oh yeah, they don't know where to buy windows, so we'll just charge them a bit more. We weren't getting our stuff cheap. We could have got better deals, and so as in regrets, I wish I had the knowledge of what a cheap deal was for supplies, and that takes time to know how to negotiate and play one supplier off against another, and and your word, and over time, when you say you're going to do something, when you say you're going to swap suppliers, you do it. We've been in this position a few times over the years where you just want the best deal for you. You're the retailer, it's your business, but a lot of the time the manufacturers would try and tell you how to, because they were bigger than you, they would try and tell you how you should be doing it, and then it gets to the point where you start to outgrow them. And then you have a bit of a local issue together. But it's only because it's competitiveness and it's growth, yeah. So I wish, the regrets are, I wish we would bought better. But you don't know what you don't know, yeah.
100%. Have you ever thought about doing the manufacturing?
We have, yeah. We thought it's a thing that goes in and out of my head constantly, and it's what you want to be. Have we thought about it? And it's like, where do you want the business to go to? Are you a manufacturer? I'm not a manufacturer. I'm a salesman. Yeah, I'm a salesperson. I go out and I make people say yes. I don't know how to run a shift. I don't know how to buy machinery. I don't know how to service machinery. I don't know about a service engineer. I don't know what happens. I could go out tomorrow and, we could have a sit down, maybe a business partner, and go, should we buy this business? We've had a look at fabrication businesses of going into business and buying them. We've sat down, we've had these conversations, but the risk is something I'm not comfortable with. And my business partner will be the same. And it's not your one or the other, but you have to have some sort of experience. If all your staff didn't turn up one day and went on strike, can you get behind the machine and make the windows yourself? I can't. And I sit at what you're good at. We're a sales and installer, and we've hit our sweet spot. Would we have growth through acquisition? Who knows? If someone approached us and said we have a business that's set up, we'd have to see what time brings. But as you start getting to, you're building your brand, you're very, very cautious about damaging the reputation. And if you overcommit, or you just go yes because it's a good idea at the time, and you think it all stacks up, and you get into the wrong thing, you can ruin what you've built. So you need to really focus on protecting that little golden thing that you've built, and that thing that people really like about you. And you just don't want to. The risk for me is a big thing, and as I've got older, when I was younger, risk didn't matter. Whereas as I'm getting that little bit older now, and I do have that little bit. Don't get me wrong, I don't think as much as my business partner about things, and I still have a lot of ideas. But actually pulling the trigger on an idea, something big, we're invested into machinery and stuff we're not too familiar with. It's just something that we know where our sweet spot is, and what we've built up is good for the customer. And I always want to make sure that the customer's experience is the ideal one. And a business under pressure, customers pick up on cracks in businesses. I'm a big believer of that. So taking on the wrong opportunity, even if it's the right idea, but if it's at the wrong time, it's not something that I would like to open a door to, I don't think.
How many staff has Endeavour got now? So
the people that work within the business and around the business. So we've had a lot of faces for a lot of years, but installers, we always take a new set of installers on if they leave another place. So we have around 4 teams of installers, 4 to 5 teams of installers. We've got 3 people in the office. We've got a contract manager. I've got a secretary that looks after me, my business partner, and she's got an assistant as well. So we've got 3 internal office staff in our showroom down at Martin. And that was one of the best things we ever did, going to Martin shops and getting a showroom. And, again, an example of not making money, but investing in yourself, investing back into your business so your people can come and see you, see what you're about, touch, feel, trust. Come and look at what you're selling, instead of just getting something out of a brochure. Do you know what I mean? Like the car showrooms and stuff like that. People like to come and see, don't they? I think you'll be exactly the same. You want to come in, know what you're dealing with and know where you can go back to if you have any problems. And when that showroom nearly broke us in half when we were setting it up. I mean, it took every penny we had, but I mean, now it's just it's the place where you go for your wind, isn't it?
Yeah. So you and your business partner doing the sales, you've got 3 office staff, 4 teams of installers, is that right?
Yeah. So I try and look after my customers. You know, our secretary looks after my diary, looks after my business partners. I'll go and see mine. He goes and sees his. He deals with his through at the end, and I deal with mine through at the end. And he has a bit more of a he plays a bit more of a role as in the day-to-day management. He programs the work. He's very good. He's organised, and he's.
Who's a better salesman?
Oh, God. Do you know what? This always comes up on a night out, and it's the worst question in the world. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's the best salesman, aren't they? Everyone's the best salesman in the world. He's very good. He's very, very good. We're both very good. We analyse the data. You know, I'm a big data man, so I've had loads of software put into our business where it tracks everything, and everything's tracked. And the reason I like things to be tracked is because if it's tracked and recorded, it creates competition, doesn't it? So I can see what he's sold. He can see what I've sold. And believe me, he's always looking at how much I've sold, and I'm always looking at how much he's sold. Do you know where I'm coming from? So if we're on a night out, if someone's not in the industry, they go, "Who's the better salesman?" And it's a nightmare question because it can cause ruptions. But we're both very, very good. We're both different, you know. Whereas maybe he's turn up and have a bit more of a laugh and a bit of a tongue in cheek, and he's very product aware. But one thing I can tell you about is who's the better person at running the day to day in the business, and it isn't me. You know, I'm the advertiser, the man who brings people in and the conversations. And I don't know if you've ever done much reading up on businesses, but you've got 2 types of people within a business. You've got integrators, and you've got like people who are visionaries, yeah. And I'm definitely not the processor of the business, yeah. Not the one who integrates into the business. I'm 100% the person who's like, how do we get people through the door? How do we create relationships with suppliers? How do we create it with finance companies and banks around us? How do we, and you know, the relationships that we've got with a lot of the businesses is all on a laugh. They like to deal with us. We're a laugh with the 2 young lads who have a business, because the other guys they speak to, they're either speaking to someone in an office that has no pull on the business. And, you know, some of the conversations I have with some of the banks that deal with us, and it's all a laugh and a giggle, you know, it's all a bit of a joke, but they like that as well, you know, so we're a bit of a different style. But yeah, as in for who's the better salesman, I'd always back myself, because that's the person I am, do you know what I mean? But he's great, but one thing I can say is who's better at running the day-to-day business, who's a bit more sensible, without a shadow of a doubt, it's him.
Have you ever thought about getting other salesmen on board?
Yeah, and the thing is with that is it takes out my enjoyment. For me on a personal level, like, that's what I enjoy. I've got a customer coming in at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I can't wait to see him. You know, I can't wait to sit there and have a bit of a crack about, you know, what's going on. And
how's that customer got in touch with you then? Is that repeat business? Is that a referral, or is that, you know?
So I get personally, I get a lot of people contact me through my own social media pages, but the company, people are coming to the showroom, they'll have seen us online, repeat business, recommend it. The majority of our work now is recommendation. We do not pound per lead. It's so minimal. We don't pay for leads because we've built a solid brand. You know, people know that brand and it's trust. And you know, we have some great tools. We sell interest free to our customers. We sell 0% finance. Not many customers round us. No companies sell that. And I mean, great. It's attractive, yeah. I mean, I was seeing a customer on Saturday, and I think the price was about £7,000, and their monthly payment, once they've paid the deposit, it's going to be like £130 a month to get a full house done. That's not the best profitable tool for us to sell, but it's the best to make the customer say yes. The customer feels, you know, that is so affordable, you know, and we want to be that company. Like I go back to the Franks, we want to be the people who go, well, they're not, before you even get there, you know they're not dear. Do you know where I'm coming from? They do a good job, they're not dear. So are we looking for other salesmen? No. I mean, if I was to put an advert out on social media saying, come and be a salesman at Endeavour Windows, I mean, my inbox would be full because of what we've created. Now, in the future, would that happen? Who knows? You know, like the future's the future. But at the moment, we like that. I like being my side of the face of the business. My business partner likes being his side. And when it's your own business, you know, you don't say the wrong things, do you? You know, you say the right things, and you're ethically a good company. And knowledge is a lot in our industry, and you know, we know what we're looking at. And so, salespeople, years to come, who knows? But for the foreseeable future, for my own thing. I love filling my own time, and I want to be in them front rooms. Don't take me off the shop floor. I'm a shop floor man. I love it. So yeah, who knows? But I have thought about it. Yeah.
Challenges within the business, are there many? Is it difficult day to day?
Yeah, of course. People, personalities. Like it's course like any business course. There's challenges, and a lot of things is personality things. It's the things where AI can't sort. AI can't get you to work on time. AI can't make you go and pick your materials up a day early. And it's some people, and what you've got to understand as a business owner is everyone's not going to love your business as much as you are. And as much as you think they aren't, a lot of people are there for the money. You do build lasting relationships with people. And one thing we've always tried to do, especially within our office staff, is we love them. We really love the people that work in the business. You have your day-to-days where you make mistakes and stuff like that, but we want the business is more than just the business. It's about when you're a business owner and you have staff, you also have that responsibility and role to take. You're taking other people on a journey with you. Please, you can't forget that. You aren't a pop-up shop, you're not start today, gone tomorrow. These people that are working for you, especially the people you spend every day with, they're going through life with you as well, and they're on their journey, and you want to have as big an impact as you can on their life. That's a big thing for me. It's a massive motive for me, is to being able to pay people more than where they would get elsewhere, keeping people right, giving people a great place to turn into, so they're proud of the badge. We say a thing at Endeavour all the time, and that there's a secretary that works for us, and she runs our lives basically. And honestly, I don't praise her enough. I love her to pieces. She's fantastic. She's so highly thought of within the business. We always talk about her bleeding blue. She answers an email on a Saturday night because she bleeds blue. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And it's like embracing where you are and coming on that journey. And everyone within our business is important. And the most important person in the business is whoever's sat in front of the customer. And it's all about that journey from start to finish. When the customer comes through the door to when the customer rings up saying, I've got a warranty claim, it's very important to deliver, a good product, a good service. But with also in that business, you look as you grow on, you got people in life's journey, you want them to go through life happy and great. And, like time off, I used to get hounded about having loads of time off. And, but that was only because, one, I was doing well at what I liked, but it was because the job I was having was creating a good lifestyle. But I praise it when I see someone have a holiday in our company diary. I don't look at it and go, oh, I can't believe you're having a day off. I go, that's unbelievable. Where are you going? Tell me all about it. Yeah, class. I love it when people are off. Tell the customer that they're off. Nothing wrong. Oh, you're never at work. Well, that's a great thing. She's never at work because they've got a great work-life balance. But and it is very true. People who do more than what they get paid for eventually will start getting paid more than for what they do, and it's all about creating that nice little. But we're doing it, like I said, we're not a massive company, but we're on a nice level of where we can impact the people that work for us and bring them on. And big thing, I want everyone to enjoy who works with us, and day to day have a good laugh, and two, make sure they want to come back again tomorrow and be proud when they're out with their friends and you're not around. Talk highly of you, of where you work. And like some people years ago when I used to work in a call centre, I was not that proud about saying what I used to do. Whereas if you want to be somewhere, people will advertise you just out of purely enjoyment.
Is Endeavour your favourite business? Obviously, you've got two other businesses. You've got a holiday-let business. Would you call it that?
So, I love all business. Business, Endeavour Windows is what got us on the map. It was Endeavour Windows is a great business, and it's something I'm immensely proud of. Me and my business partner, super proud of it. But yeah, other businesses, I'm an entrepreneur. I thrive off something else, and I can't turn that switch doesn't go off. Do you know what I mean? You've either got that or you haven't. I like all businesses. Anything that can turn a pound into two, I'll listen. So yeah, but as Endeavour grew, I got into other businesses. Got into other lines of industry. One was the holiday lets. Started buying up property, which was my local police station.
How did that come about?
It's a class story, really. There's nothing in my life that surprises me now. I just think, yeah. So, seeing online, I was looking for a property. I wanted to live in Great Ayton, where I grew up. And then out of nowhere, I'll never forget, I was at work one day and someone said, oh, we should have a look at booking this one night. Off on booking.com, because the guy who owned the property before I did the builder, who converted most of it, he he tried to have a little go at it being a holiday let, and it just never quite took off for him. And then one of my mates showed me on booking.com. I had a look at it. I seen it come up for sale, and I was just right, right place, right time. I seen it come up for sale. So I rang the number straight away. I went, "Can I come? I'll come now." And they're like, "Oh no, you need to book an appointment." Well, I'm free now. So they went, "All right, the owner's there, you can go." I was looking for my first house at the old police station. I used to remember it when it was a police station. Do you know? Like, yeah. And I mean, it was a place I wouldn't say I was overly familiar with, but I'd been there. So yeah, I always remember the police station. And then when the council sold it off, the developer took it on, and then I seen it go up for sale, and I was like, right. And it was expensive at the time.
How much?
I paid $255,000 for that place when it was converted. But it was only, in reality, it wouldn't really suit a family because it had one bedroom upstairs, one bedroom downstairs, and like a front room. So it wasn't really a family place. And again, back to small minds. So I went and met the builder. I said, I'll give you no negotiation. I just went, I'll give you everything, the full lot. Yeah, no problem. I want all the furniture as well. He went, all the furniture? I went, all of it. He went, why? I've got none. So went in there with it, and I always knew that I was going to turn that into a holiday let in that area. And I remember there was a place who I'm now friends with who had a big business. He had like a caravan park, and then it turned into nice lodges with hot tubs. They were very well known in the area. And I thought, that hasn't got a challenger. I'm going to challenge it with my little one bedroom, a little one bedroom that sleeps four. There was, two bedrooms, one downstairs, one up. I'm going to challenge. Yeah, I'm going to have a crack at this. I'm going to put a hot tub there, and I'm going to charge people a couple of £100 a night. And they're going to have a good time around here. They're not going to come to you. So I thought, well, I told everyone. I'll never forget walking down the pub one night, and people were going to me, is he mad? He's bought the dearest one-bedroom house in the village, like the small minds. He's bought the dearest, and the people laughed at me, thought I was an idiot. Like, you thought, what's he done there? What a terrible buy. So anyway, I lived there did a few alterations, put some electric gates on, put some lighting on there, big stone outside, big carved stone. Built this brand, and I thought, right, this is the old police house. So rang the Gazette up, said, look, bought the local police station, young lad, never been very good, around and about, been locked up a couple of times. Bought the local police station, would be interested in doing a story on it. They said, yeah, no problem. So get it in the Gazette, got a little website booked up. Next thing, the old police house came about, and I'm not joking. Before all this Airbnb stuff, there was very little competition. That place was booked out 70-80% of the year. No problem, And so I've set this up. It really got off quite well.
From people out the area coming in and staying there, is it local people or?
All over the world.
Wow.
All over the world, people. It's not. Don't get me wrong. This isn't the melting pot of the world, but we get people all the time coming from. We had some people in last Christmas from Abu Dhabi. But generally people coming back to visit family or the area. So you wouldn't believe where that comes from. And I'll never forget we set our Facebook page up as you do when you get you're setting a business up. And I think with our first or second post, you could go back through the post now and look at it. I think it got 40,000 shares off a free one night stay, free giveaway. Do you remember when people used to do this? So we used to give we still do this now, but it just doesn't go anywhere near as far.
What year was that?
That was, what year are we in now? So 2000, that'll have been around 2018, I'm guessing 2018, 2019, probably around then. Did a Facebook post giveaway, got 46,000 shares or whatever it was. I could have to look back. It got about 4 million views. And from that, we got 23,000 followers on Facebook overnight, because that's when Facebook, the algorithms were different and posts could go miles. And we've just done our Christmas giveaway. It's got 230 shares. Facebook have killed it, unless you're paying for it, they're not interested. So that got some mileage. And then one thing led to another. That one was busy. So then I went and bought, I thought, right, I'll have to rent it out. I need another house. Went and bought a little cottage around the corner. It was a 1-bedroom cottage. So I called.
You're not scared of taking the business from that one?
Nah. This point that I had Endeavour Windows was going, the other place was going, and no, absolutely no.
Did you build the website for it?
Yeah, well, it was my wife's friend could build a Wix site, so she built a little website at first, and then that started to get redone. Then
were you putting it on Booking.com and stuff yourself? Or
well, at first I went with I never went on Booking. We've only just gone on Booking.com. Right, I'll come to that why. So we went through an agent, like a booking agent, and because the majority of guests we get are for 4 nights plus. We get people coming from a week with their dogs and dog-friendly properties. We've got a few that are dog-friendly now. So our bookings were a little bit more long term through the agent. So we built our website to try and fill the gaps. So like if someone would come and book 5 days, well, we wanted to try and market through Facebook the shorter stays, the 2-nighters and stuff like that, and what was available. So went on to get the little old police cottage, which was the same. And I was just on this sort of, when hot tubs were a thing, when everyone thought, oh, it's got a hot tub, we'll go there. I just got this thing in my mind, literally, get a house, do it up, stick a hot tub in it, job done, honestly. And I thought, people will come, let them bring the dog, hot tub, dog, we're laughing. You're not going to win it. And for the first few years, there wasn't much competition. There was not many places with hot tubs. It was great. It was really good. So then went on to the little cottage, and then went on and did I told you the story earlier, but promised my mum I would buy. You get to the point in life where you're going to buy your mum a house, and I thought, well, that's a nice thing. I've always wanted to do that. Get her out of a council house that she was in, and it was just a bit of a personal thing for me. A bit of a selfish pat on the back, really. So. Anyway, sees this place, comes up online, bought it, said, Mum, going to go there, going to live there, going to do it up for you. And then you'll have this lovely house and it'll be yours, and then I'll move on. She was over the moon. So buys this two-bedroom property, street house, cottage, lovely area, but needed a bit of work doing to it. Told the neighbours when I bought the property at the estate agent, which was honestly, you might not believe me when I tell you this, it was all intentions to go to my mother. Told the estate agent there was 2 offers in for this property. I'm a local lad, the others were out of the area. I told the estate agent, I said, look, this is for my mum and I want her to stay in the area. Well, they accepted the offer and went, Josh, they're going to accept your offer, but that's because they wanted for someone in the area, and you said you were doing it for your mum. For the first 6 months, it was great. I was smashing the house to pieces, living in it. I said, it's going to go to my mum. And then it started, knocked a wall through, and then I looked up the road and I'd seen that someone had converted the loft and put a 3rd story on this old terraced house, and I thought, I'll just see if I can get planning for that. I'll just see if it happens. So anyway, I got the architect round, and he said, yeah.
I told your mum at this point. No.
Oh no, my mum's just waiting for a new house to turn up. She's like, oh, when am I moving in?
Sofas on order and everything. New windows.
It was coming out. She was coming around going, oh, it's nice in here. Looking forward to it. And then put a planning application in for this 3rd story. I don't know if you've seen on the website, I've showed you. I mean, it's a really nice place. So gets the planning permission through. Said, I've told my mum what I was doing. I said, I'm doing this, that and the other. So anyway, carries on, and I thought, oh my God, this place is turning into something. And it grew arms and legs, this building. It was turning from this little house to this 3-story, beautiful terrace cottage. It was class. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be... If I put a holiday let out there, a hot tub out there, put a roof over it, what a holiday let this will be. So put some bifolding doors on the 3rd floor, balcony. And I thought, oh no, how am I going to break it to my mum that this is now going to be a holiday let? So I said, Mum, I've got planning permission. As it was getting done, I said, do you not think this house might be a bit big for you now? I felt horrendous. I said, Mum, I said, I'm sorry, but this is this is going to be a holiday let. It's going to be no dogs, just people coming. I said, I'm so sorry, but we're going to call it the old police terrace. She was like, all right, okay, no worries. And then it went on to, that became one. And then long story short, a year later, I was lucky enough to go and buy her another cottage, which was hers. It's all hers. It's not mine. So there'll be nothing. There's no more holiday lets getting done there. So that's that. But
did she get it all in writing from you the second time around? I don't trust you this time.
Yeah, mate, it's an awkward conversation to have. But yeah, I mean, we got past it in the end, and so there you got some 3 nice holiday lets. Then did one with my business partner a couple of doors down. Which we called the Rosebery Topping Townhouse, which he wanted to get into a bit of this and that, and we did a little property conversion recently together. That's a very smart, 3-story apartment, which is nice. So yeah, that's how the holiday let thing come about. But that's a long-winded conversation about which business do you prefer the most. Well, one thing I can tell you about the holiday let industry is about whether you love it more than another is it's been very difficult with COVID coming and the cost of living coming, and people have been able to go back on holiday because the bookings have dropped. Luckily, I have, I've got equity in these properties, so the mortgages aren't massive. But one thing I would say is the demand is less. And I think every holiday let owner, if there's anyone listening to this in the holiday let industry, they'll notice the demand's dropped. Cost of borrowing's gone up. Cost of getting work done to these alterations has gone up. So they're certainly not they're not the most attractive investment anymore. So at the moment, it's my least favourite business because it's definitely making the least. but it's something I'm very proud of, and
Yeah.
you know, I love the fact that I think it's more of an arm to me. Really, it's like if anyone stays in there, they go like the local area. Oh, we're in here, and we know Josh, and you know, it's proud. Really, I mean, if they lose money, then I'm happy for them to lose money because I'm still happy with, you know, what they are, and it's all part of the journey, and it's what I'm really happy with.
Any other property development stuff in the pipeline?
Well, so as in the pipeline, I think about this all the time. It's like, what's the next investment, and what is it, and what are you investing it with? Is it a pension investment? You know, do you start using your pension contributions and investing into that? So, am I looking into commercial property? But then again, I'm going into something I don't know. But I'm always looking for something. But is there anything concrete? No. Like over the last 18 months, we bought a development. Me and my missus. We got married. Once we got married, we bought a house together, which was built, which is great, and that's going to be our forever-ish, if you will, because you need a bit of stability in your life. Like, bless my wife, she's like couldn't really. The stuff she's gone through over the last 5 years with properties, like sleeping with plaster up her nose and no bed, no mattress, no floorboard. You know, in the property game, just making it work, living in your rental, you know. No bathroom, you know, pissing in buckets. I'll never forget the day my missus pissed in the tiler's bucket, you know, because there was no toilet, and then he had to come back the next day, and she didn't dare say anything. But I mean, so yeah, I mean, we have stability as in a home. We've got no aspirations to move on, but as in for investments, I mean, I'm always looking at
if it makes sense.
If it makes sense, and if I feel comfortable, you know, I always think gut feeling's massive. You know, I don't like taking advice off others, really. I like to think, well, if I think it's all right, because if I make the mistake, I'm quite happy to take the tuition fee.
So there's one business we've not spoke about.
Yes.
Which is your motor finance business. Yeah. How did that come about?
Again, another beauty of a story. Got a parking ticket. So get a parking ticket stuck on my window. Because I was at that age and thought everyone wasn't paying parking tickets. You get a parking ticket, you don't pay it, don't worry about it. You just tear it in half and it just goes away. And I had a few where I teared it in half and they just went away. And then I'll never forget, this one ticket wouldn't go away. They kept pestering me and I kept tearing the letters up, and and at the time I'd never heard of the Supreme Court. You know, so I thought, the Supreme Court, that sounds made up. Ripped the letter in half. But yeah, binned it. So get a parking ticket. Suddenly, I was living at my little cottage at the time. Anyway, went to renew my gas and electric. You failed finance. I thought, impossible. How? So I rang them up. Oh yeah, you've got a county court judgment. I said, what? They went, well, we can't tell you. You'll have to have a look on your credit file. They wanted me to go on a key meter for my gas and electric. So I was like, this is impossible. Like, you can't go on the key. My mum was on a key meter. You know, like going down the shop putting 20 quid on a key meter. I thought, what? Anyway, I looked online, there it is, CCG, I have a parking ticket. The ticket was 75 quid. So anyway, I thought, oh my God. And at the time, I just ordered myself a nice new car. I thought, oh my God, I'm buying that on finance. I'm not even going to pass it, am I?
What year is this?
I was about 22, so...
Oh, so you've been doing it that long?
Oh yeah, I've been financing cars now for nearly, like 4 or 5 years, yeah. It's not been a 2 overnight thing, yeah. So this was when the parking ticket started. So get to the parking ticket. Can't get my new flash car that I wanted on finance. So I thought, no, this is a disaster. Got speaking to a guy who'd just been divorced when he was quite a successful businessman. He went, don't worry, Josh. He said, I've been getting divorced. Loads of bills haven't been getting paid because she hasn't paid and this, that and the other. He said, I'll put you onto a man and he'll sort it all out for you. And I was like, sounds mint. Give me his number. And I still speak to him now. He's called Stephen. So I ring Stephen. He said, hey mate, he said, come round my house, bring your driving licence with you, give me your last 3 months bank statements and we'll have a look at it. Anyway, so it goes around Stephen's house, pulled up at Stephen's house, you know, Low Lane, Middlesbrough. Pulled up his house, thought Stephen's doing all right. You know, I wonder how Stephen makes his money. So I goes in his house. Well, I walked in his house and there he is, man. I mean, he had this big glass partitioned office in his house. I thought, it was mint. You know, when you walk in, it was like a footballer's gaff. To me, it was like class. And I was looking, he had a pinball machine and he had all sorts of, you know, loads of memorabilia, and I thought, this is class. Anyway, I goes to him, I said, what do you do? He's like, I'm a finance broker. I do cars, vans, lorries, you know, anything, vehicles, assets. I was like, all right, sound. Anyway, yeah, no, he said, sign a couple of bits of paper. He said, get yourself away. He said, I'll give you a shout in a few hours. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this. You know, I've got this CCG. And Anyway, so I had the car. I was looking at the car, and it was like I'd reserved it. Couldn't get any money for it. I was like, oh God, couldn't pay cash for it. So I get a phone call back a couple of hours later. Hey Josh, go and get your new car Saturday if you want. I was like, really? He went, yeah, all sorted, mate. He said, I've got it agreed. Bank statements were fine. He said, all good. I'm not joking you. I thought this man had turned water into wine. I was like, he's unbelievable. And then he texted me. I was like, how did you do that? He went, his reply was, I'm just fucking good, aren't I? And I thought, and I believed it. I thought, yeah, all right. Anyway, he sorted this out for me. And then I just kept in contact with him for a little bit, just having a bit of crack. And I ended up doing some windows for him, as you do. And I had a bit of a, so he became a customer of mine. I was a customer of his, and then he did a couple of vans for Endeavour. And I'll never forget, we had an advert on the radio. We started when we were on the radio with Chris Kamara on.
How did that even come about, by the way? He's a legend, isn't he?
Yeah, mate, we'll come to this. So, so advert goes on the radio, and he texts me, going, something like that, like basically, fucking hell, how have you got him? You know, and I like basically like what you just said.
How many people said that, by the way?
Mate, you won't believe the texts that were coming through our phone. Like, how much does he want? How much was that? How do you know, anyway. Yeah, so he hears the advert on the radio, and he texts me saying, ever thought about getting into finance? And at the time, I was like, Endeavour wasn't, it was doing all right, but it wasn't, you know, I thought, I'm up for something else. So he texted me saying, and I said, what? Cars? I said, I don't know anything about it. He said, meet me tomorrow, we'll have a coffee. And I thought, fair enough. And I've always been one of them, mate. I've got no problem picking your brains. You know, I'm sitting in front of you and I'll absorb every bit of information. From me being a kid, this is what I've always done. Sat in front of people, I want to know how you make money. And from what I'm looking at here, it looks like you're doing all right. So when I met him for a coffee, and he said, look, I've seen your social media. I've seen like what you're doing with your windows and stuff like that. He went, do that with the cars. I went, what do you mean? I went, what, set a Facebook page up and post about it? He said, yeah. So anyway, got my missus to take a picture of me. That picture is still my photo that got took years ago. Might be aging a bit on now. Like, it's still the picture on my...
I have to send me it and I'll put it over, you know, the YouTube podcast.
Yeah, do it, yeah. So I'll never forget that. I got suited and booted. Put a tie on, sat behind my desk, asked me missus to take a picture of me like that, no background, and I just put what's the little app called? Like a Canva or something like that, where you can just make a few little ads. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was more than anyone else was doing. And I'd seen online there was another lad doing something similar, and he was doing all right. And I thought, I'll just do that. I'll just copy him, basically. So looked at this lad and I thought, I'll do that, no problem. Literally, put Facebook, now doing motor and commercial asset finance. If anyone's wanting, you know, cheaper payments than what the dealership are offering, because that's how the brokerage work. They give you software and it is cheaper than them, and there's a lot of things on there that make the customer saves money. So it's great because you can shop about with finance. A lot of people don't know that. So you don't have, when you go and buy a car at the dealership, you don't have to just go, just because they say it's £350 a month, doesn't mean you can't get your own funding and pay it and it costs you 300, you know. So that's where we come into play. So anyway, I set this Facebook page up saying, now doing car finance, come and speak to me. I'm the man, basically, in a nutshell. Come and talk to me. Well, people just started messaging me because it was like, Facebook 5-6 years ago wasn't really what it was now. It always changes, doesn't it? Now it's very addy and stuff like that. So posts used to get more traction, yeah? So I put that up there. I'll never forget my first deal when I did a little banger Audi, you know, saved someone like 30 quid a month. Yeah, fine, sorted it. And then went out, I used to go and get a picture next to the car, big golden handshake, as you do. And then someone saying to me, oh, Josh, you're doing finance now, aren't you? I was like, oh, yeah, absolute specialist, mate, yeah, get in touch. So what this lad was doing, Stephen, who got me in, he wasn't, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have I wouldn't be doing what I am doing now. But I used to go out and I would get these leads for him. And then what he would do is he would do the deal, do the paperwork and give me the commission, you know, split it with me. Well, I mean, I was the best canvasser in the world, wasn't I? I was going out and giving him free money. You just go, hey, mate, and I'd be the idiot going out getting the paperwork signed. You know, I'd be going around 7-8 o'clock at night going, oh, get this signed, get that signed. Anyway, so I said to him, if I keep doing you this, will you give me a go? He said, don't think I'll be able to get you an A, mate. You've got no banking experience. I was like, all right, okay, mate, right. He said, just keep doing what you're doing. And if you keep passing me these leads, I'll make sure at some point I get you in. Well, he just kept me at arm's length, didn't he? Just wanted me going. And I mean, we did some stuff. I mean, because I was always been a bit of a networker in social groups and golf groups and one thing and another. I mean, I was doing deals like Ferraris, and I remember one day I did this Ferrari, and I said to him, and I'm certain he wasn't giving me the right amount of money, and I did this big 150 grand Ferrari, and he went, yeah, there's like 280 quid in that for you. And I thought, no, there isn't. Like, this is, anyway. So I thought he's doing me out of money here. So, but I needed to keep him close because I couldn't burn a bridge with him because I would never get into the company I really wanted to get into, which was Anglo-Scottish, where I place all my finance business now, which is an unbelievable company. So anyways, so after that, I thought, I'm not having this. I'm going to make this on my own. Sent a load of emails out, either involved in finance, couldn't I have an interview? Thought, no banking experience. So I rang a couple of places up and they went, where have you been at? Have you got any experience? And I said, oh, no. They went, no, we don't take anyone on without experience. I was like, God, it's sort of half true, this. Do you know what I mean? So, but I was doing deals, so I still had to give these deals to him, a few deals to him that I couldn't get done. And then I got this little shot in this place in, what's it called, where they have the horse race in the fair? I can't remember where, Gloucester. Can't remember the company. I went down there anyway. And they give me a shot. I went down for an interview. I said, look, I haven't got much experience. I've been passing referrals into someone. Just want to have my, Cheltenham, that's where it was, where the horse was. Right, so I went down to Cheltenham, suited and booted, and had this interview with this guy and went out for the afternoon with him and said, look, this is my businesses, my other businesses. I know what I'm doing. I'm a good salesperson. And all these people in the finance industry, by the way, they're not salespeople. They are stiff as a board. They are the stiffest wooden people. And I mean, do you know, I'm not joking. There's no sales about it. So when I was getting involved in doing finance deals, I still do this now. Like, customer ring me, I go, now then it's Josh the finance lad. They're expecting to speak to someone like, oh, hi, how are you? You know, I'm like, how are you doing? Yeah, right, what's the motor look like? Send me the reg, send me the mileage, and we'll crack on with it. So, you know, that different approach to business, whereas years ago it was being professional. You know, you've got to be professional. I couldn't care less about being professional. All I care about was having a good crack. Get the details, let's do the deal, and the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? If you get the deal done, you get the deal done, don't you? And if you've got a bit of flair about what industry you're in, people enjoy that. So it goes down to Cheltenham, meets this guy, and it was it wasn't a great firm. They didn't have many banks that they were in with. They had a couple, but so I went there and I got a bit of experience, didn't I? So what that meant is when I asked for a bit of a CV write-up, they'd send me one saying, yeah, Josh has experience, worked there, was pleasant, and did a few deals, and bang. Went from there, then got involved for a motor company in Essex, which had all the tools in the box that I needed. And then I started to gather a bit of traction. I mean, like then I was like, Instagram was people. I was doing a lot of cars. I was doing like Lamborghinis and anything, a van, all sorts. But people were coming to me and I was doing a few deals a week and it started to get a bit of traction. But this is only off my own network. This started off me posting on Facebook every single day. If you speak to any of my friends, they'll say, I think a few of them have blocked me. You know, just for constant, it's just relentless business post. And started doing a few deals there. By this point, I wasn't giving the guy, Steve, any leads, because I was doing them all myself. And anyway, long story, it's still a good story, this now on a works night out, but I started doing loads of deals, getting a bit of a name in that industry now, quite a bit of traction. And then I applied. I said, right, Steve, if you don't put a good word in for me, I'm just going to go direct. He went, don't worry, mate, I'll sort it out for you. Then didn't realise he'd sent them an email on the sly saying, if I bring this lad on, how much will I get out of it? You know, because obviously we'd stopped the deals. But anyway, I mean, we were always friends. And I mean, fair play. I was green as grass. And like I said to you before, you need to buy better. When you first get into business, you don't know any different, do you? And I was new to this industry, even though it was only 4 or 5 years ago. I thought I knew everything about business, but I still had a bloke there who was just keeping me at half length, just teeing it up for him, you know. So then I had an interview there. I mean, I've been at Anglo-Scottish place in my business with them as a contracted agent, maybe 3 years now. And I mean, what a good business model. And I love, like, again, like it's all network, isn't it? In that sort of broker industry, it's never what you know. Even though you need to know a lot, it's more who you know and what are they buying. You know, do you know people that are buying big assets? Because that's how it works, and it's a commission-only role, and that's how I got into that. And one thing sort of led to another with that, and just the more deals you do, the more people that know about you. And I mean, it's another industry I'm pretty obsessed with. I love it. I have very different businesses, you know, from the glazing business to the holiday let industry to the finance industry. It's, you know, it's very different across them all, but, you know, in terms of your network, because I know people from here, but the problem is they all buy things and they all have cars and they all have businesses that need money. And I've also, as a personal brand, because like I said to you before, like I'm working on Josh Thompson trying to be a personal brand. Yeah, he's known for this, and this. You know, that's what an entrepreneur is, yeah. So a lot of people now, it's funny because I get people who come to me, I've done a full house of windows for them, I've done a car for them, and they've had a night with their lass in the hot tub. So, I mean, yeah, so that's how the finance thing started to work. And like I say, and like I said, you have salespeople in that industry. There's not many full-on salespeople that are doing finance. And like I said, the industry's stiff as a board. There's people there who think they're salespeople. Honestly, wouldn't get a kick of the ball if they were in the window game. Useless. And then again, people are like going, where are you getting your leads from, Josh? Where are you getting your leads from? Yeah. And it's like, you know, because the hardest thing, like I said to you, is to create a lead. But even when I was back at school, flogging anything I could, I've never found getting a lead hard. When I was ringing 1,000 numbers a day, the leads weren't the hard thing. Getting a lead and getting someone to believe in me has never been the hard thing. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yep.
And I, you know, it's like creating a lead. It's not, you know, creating some out of fresh air is not something that I've really found that difficult. It's just a bit of a natural thing.
How much would he have made off that Ferrari deal?
Oh God, it was definitely more than what I got. I know that. Generally, it's a funny you've asked me this now because it's a very relevant time because a massive thing in our industry now is commission disclosure. So like you have to tell the customer knows what you get.
Oh, that's good. That was going to be one of my questions.
Do you know about this?
No.
Oh my God, it's absolutely vile. So any deal, all the deals, depending on the lender, roughly, don't quote me on this, they'll pay you anywhere between, on average, some deals will pay you 2%, some deals will pay you 5%. You know,
2% of the loan?
2% of the balance to finance, yeah. Yes, of the loan.
Just talk me through an example then.
Example, £50,000 car, customer pays £10,000 deposit, you would get 2% of the
40.
Of the 40, but then obviously the company that I work for as an agent, Anglo-Scottish, they would take a cut. Yeah, they take a cut from the agent. Yeah, because they give you the software. Yeah. They do your licenses. They pay for your exams, your tests, because you have exams to do every year and compliance stuff to go through.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, as far as companies concerned, it's a very scalable industry because money's money, isn't it? Money doesn't not turn up to work. You know, it's a very good industry, but commission disclosure and stuff like that, it's not actually something I want to talk about because it's actually so painful and so compliance. But yeah, so how much would he have made off that? I reckon 3% minus his cut, and then give me 280 quid. Thanks, cheers, mate. 280 quid. I mean, it was a big deal.
Why not 250 or 300, 280?
I honestly don't know. Yeah. But we still have conversations about that now. But yeah, I mean, like I said to you before, it's the company that I work through is they don't just do cars. You know, you can specialise in any industry you do. Now I know you're a property guy, so there's areas that specialise in bridging, and you'll have lads there that do bridging, and that's all they do. You'll have guys who do medical equipment, and they'll do MRI scanners and stuff, you know. And I mean, doesn't matter whether you're doing a Ford Fiesta or whether you're doing an MRI scanner, the fees are the same, you know. That the structures are very similar. So you're looking to try and do bigger assets, you know. That's the goal. You build up a client base, and you want to try and do the bigger the company. You know, when you get involved, I do a lot of business finance. I do fleets for companies, for vans, but then there's guys who do boats. You know, massive commercial loans, private medical equipment, lorries. You know, excavators, waste machinery. There's any sort of asset you think for a business. But one thing is that I like is because my network is so broad. I do such a variety of deals, just because of the people I know. But you'll only do deals for the people you know. I mean, every day you're learning. Banks change every day. The news impacts what happens in that industry quite regular. But yeah, it's a business I love, and the reason I love it is because it's me. People deal with me every time I do the deal from start to finish. You'll talk to me, and I'm obsessed with it. But I'm obsessed with selling. Doesn't matter whether I'm sat in your front room trying to sell you 2 pieces of glass and a back door handle, or I'm trying to finance a Ferrari for you or whatever. It's a deal's a deal for me.
How do you manage your time across those 3 businesses then? Does your business partner have any other interests as well where is he full?
Well, he's how do I manage my time is I don't have much of a... I organise my diary well. So the window industry, for example, so it runs Endeavour Windows. No business runs itself, but the staff in there run the day-to-days, the inquiries and stuff like that. And like I said to you before, the phone's not ringing with inquiries 100 times a day. At the minute, we probably sit anywhere from 8 to 12 appointments a week. And I've got a secretary that works for me and works for my business partner, and he'll do his appointments and I'll do mine. And the hardest thing in that industry is to create loads of leads without creating loads of quality leads. Because you want the quality, and you also, the demographic of where you're installing. We don't want to be installing windows in Manchester, because if someone's got a draft in Manchester, I've got to send a land from Middlesbrough to Manchester. It just doesn't work. So we try and concentrate, which we do. We get quite a decent amount of leads in our area because we don't really leave 15 or 20 miles. So how do I manage my diary? Well, in the business, I am a salesperson. So so this afternoon I'm seeing someone at 4 o'clock. Tomorrow I haven't got anything in my diary. So I might only see 5 or 6 people a week. So that's really probably 5-6 hours a week of me going out places. But I work on my business more than I work in it. So when I'm free on it, so the window industry, unless you're an installer, it doesn't get started till 11 o'clock in the morning. My first appointment's about 11, and then might sit my last appointment at 8. So the banking world, I start from 8 in the morning, but a deal, once I've done most of the deal, I'm waiting on other people. So I'll work between 8 and 10 on a morning, doing all my finance work, and then any emails, the rest of it, I do a lot of the work I do off my phone, apart from some of it, and then I'm always waiting on someone else coming back to me, waiting for invoices or waiting for pay slips, or the hardest part of the finance industry is getting the customer, which I get through social media and network groups and stuff like that. So just how do I manage it all is having good people around you, for sure. So my business partner, like I said to you before, he's much better than I am at programming work. So he makes sure that Endeavour's fitting enough work, it's efficient, and the day-to-day running. So he's more actively in the business. But like I say, he's also got a good team around him. And then I look at sales, advertising, and the relationships with suppliers and stuff like that. But he's more active than I am in it. Yeah. But yeah, and the holiday lets. Please don't look like I'm the busiest man in the world. My wife runs it all. Could not live without her, So another thing I'm quite proud of is she used to work. She still does at the NHS, but she used to travel from. She moved in 4 or 5 years ago when we lived in one of the cottages, and she used to go from Sunderland, from Middlesbrough to Sunderland to the hospital every day. She'd set off at 5:30 in the morning. She worked 12-hour days, come back. It was a long day for her, and I thought, well. So I approached her one day. I said, "Would you look after all the holiday lets?" Because I was getting to the point where there's no way I could manage it. It can't be emptying hot tubs and managing guests. It was just you can't do it. I just got to the point where I needed help. I need assistance, and she is the boss now. She does everything. But I still work on the businesses. I'm still
ideas and vision.
This is where we go on the Airbnb and Booking.com. We'll come back to it, but. I'm still last week. I'm on the phone to the web developer, going through the website, going, I want it to look like this. And then we've had a system built that integrates with Booking.com and Airbnb, and it integrates with them all. Yeah. So, because I don't want to be relying on the agents as much. I want to create the brand needs its own customers, because we've got to the point now where customers who've come and stayed with us come back to us, which is great. That's what you want. You don't want people, because the agents charge you roughly 20%. Roughly. Some are different, but they're taking 20% of what that customer's paying. Well, we could probably knock 10% off, make another 10%, and that's extra revenue, and you just say, for instance, you turn over 100 grand, well, that's 10 grand in your pocket that the customer was paying anyway, and you keep it everything within group, within the group of the cottages. So I work a lot on my businesses, and I try not to overload myself working in the businesses, but relationships is a big thing, and making the people want to come to you, going to events, going to network groups, going to these things. Like, if there was anyone out there saying look, how do I get involved with people, I would say you need to go to network groups. These places are for, well, you'll know if you go yourself, the people want to pass business within them groups. It's a fact. They want to see other people do well. They want to hear your challenges. If you're struggling to find someone, like Endeavour Windows, we're struggling to find a bookkeeper. Couldn't find one. Got a number, got past a name, a number, and a referral. Next thing we had a bookkeeper. Problem solved instantly. Whereas if you're out there and you're not going to these sort of things, where do you get the answers from? And do not be too arrogant or too sure to think you know it all. You just don't. And you need help. And the biggest thing that helps me become who I want to be and keep doing what I'm doing is having a good team around you, realising what your role is, who you are in your businesses, and what you're going to be in them businesses. Now, I know that in Endeavour Windows, I'm never going to be the programmer or the operations, the operations guy, because one, I can't look at the same thing for 5 minutes. I can't even watch the telly without looking at my phone. I can't. There's always something else. I'm not that I'm not organised. It's just not my strength. So having a good team around me, that's how I manage to keep everything spinning. And also having really liking and putting trust and telling people around them how great they are. And if you work with someone great, then tell them how great they are. I've got, let's say, secretary girls in our office constantly. They'll think I'm a bit strange, tell them how much I think they're great and how much I love them and they're out of hours. And might be a strange thing to them, but it's not to me. My wife, literally, them cottages wouldn't run without her. And she used to work at the hospital, and luckily now she works 2 days a week and runs the cottages. And she has a dance school, which is a passion, which I think is amazing. I was fortunate enough to put myself in a position where now my missus only has to do 2 days a week, and the rest of the time she does what she loves, which is musical theatre. And it's interesting working together because she has no respect for me. And when she has business issues with her and a business partner, she'll run something past me and I'll give her the answer and she doesn't like it. She does the opposite thing. So she has no respect for me in the business world whatsoever. You'd think I'd never achieved anything, because every time I tell her, she just turns off. She's unreal. And the amount of times I'll work on the accounts or whatever, or tell her about something. And if it's after 8 o'clock, she goes, don't talk to me about that now. Do there's different people, So that's how I manage my diary. I've got good people around me, and, it allows me to sort of open the straps up a bit and really get stuck into what I'm good at.
On the finance side of things, once you've got that customer there, they've approached you, how much work is involved in doing that deal? Is it quite operationally heavy, admin heavy, or is it just a case of...
I mean, it doesn't just do it itself. Do you know what I mean? It definitely doesn't just do it itself. But getting the customer in, the customer stays yours. You key your deals in. You obviously you put the customer into the system, but you need to be aware of what the customer's like. You need to know how to read a balance sheet. So you need to know how to read a set of accounts. So there's a lot of learning. It's like the deals aren't the time putting the deal in is not the hard bit. It's understanding who does what, how much it does, because the costs of borrowing change all the time, but from lender to lender. So, just for example, say you had someone like Santander or Barclays. Well, they lend money out at different rates, and they might use brokers where they let you introduce business. But the cost of that money goes up and down all the time. So we regularly get emails of, how much the cost of funds are today, how much the cost of money is there today. And then you've also got to consider, is that person or business, have they got a good credit profile? I mean, the lowest rates don't go to the worst customers. It's like that's across anything really. I mean, if a customer's got a bit of a bad history within credit, or they've got some blips on their profile, then they're not going to get the really lowest rate. And then the amount that people borrow, and then what banks borrow against what products is another thing. You get certain banks that don't lend against agricultural machinery or tractors, or some motor finance companies don't do electric vehicles, So there's a lot of being on the ball, a lot of reading, and a skillful broker is someone who is absorbing the knowledge, and you can't learn it all. You forget loads of it because it's changing that much. So as in how much time does the deal, inputting the deal, not a lot of time. Doing the transactional bit, not a lot, but I mean, the deal would take a long time if you didn't know where to put it. And you can waste a lot of time. So, like, for example, if you come to me and you said, look, I'm getting this car and you got my credit's not that good, and I send it to somewhere, I could waste 3 days sending it to the wrong person and having a bit of chew. And whereas if you know where it needs to go, or you have an idea, and you can, or with a business, you can look at the bank statements, or you can look at the accounts and you can go, well, they look pretty good. And if you know what a stable company looks like, well, you send it to the banks where they deal with stable and solid companies, So it's having that feeling and gut feeling. And I mean, I'm still learning. I'm no expert, but I mean, I can get the leads in, but I'm certainly not an expert banker, and I'm not an underwriter. But it's learning, and things change all the time. And so the transactional side of it is not a lot. There's not a great deal of, there's a lot of brokers sat on the golf course every day. A lot of people think I live my life like that, which is not the case, but you do get a bit of business out of it. So yeah, there's a lot of brokers out there that they might work a day a week.
Is it just B2B that you're doing then? Because obviously you're talking about reading balance sheets and stuff. So
both.
If I was to come to you and ask for it, what obviously that wouldn't be like reading the balance sheet and stuff like that, would it?
No, consumer credit is different. So There's obviously you don't read a balance sheet, so no, we do personal. So anyone who's buying your car for yourself or business, we do everything across the scale.
Yeah. How do you introduce yourself when you go to these networking events? Do you talk firstly about Endeavour Windows, or are you leading with the finance?
Well, I'd say a lot of the time it depends on what networking group you're going to, because there's no point, for example, going to a certain networking group. Like, so I sometimes go. I'm part of a business called For Business, which is a golf networking group. I'm a big golfer, and it's very well run. It's a great network, and it's all over the country. Now, I went to an event in Manchester a few weeks back, and I'm talking to. I can't go and fit winners in Manchester. But don't forget, when every networking group you're going to, you're not always going to sell yourself. The best I consider myself to be a good networker. I don't ever go to a group and not pull a lead. Very rare, because you've got that whole telecanvasser. That the direct sales never leaves you. Yeah, what a good teaching that was, because there's not a room that I go in now, and I'm not comfortable to sit. I'll go and sit to a group of people that I don't know. I've got no interest in sitting next to someone that I know. Why would you, hey, how are we doing? Yeah, all right, so you be telling me who you are, what you are. But with networking, there's no one size fits all. There's definitely no silver bullet, So I would tell people that I wear many hats. That's the thing. So because it's all about the amount of things that my businesses has saved in money by going to these groups. Like Endeavour Windows, for example, we saved a fortune on our fleet insurance by using someone else. You're not always going there to sell something. You're going there to learn. Go and sit in the rooms, and you'll have heard this before, but go and sit in the rooms where you're not. You don't need to be the cleverest person in that room. That's the last room you want to be in.
It's the worst room to be in.
It's exactly that. So, go get in all these new rooms, and the higher up these levels you go, the more people understand that not everyone has one. It's a small thing. Quite people ask me all the time, what's a better business? What do you make more money out of? But I've never heard one high net worth individual come up to me and go, what do you make more money out of? And I know loads. I never hear any of them come up to me and go, which one does better? They all know that it doesn't matter whether it makes a tenner. Every income stream that you can produce and manage is an income stream. Do you know where I'm coming from? It's not depends on what sort of entrepreneur you want to be and what sort of businessman you want to be, but network, I would introduce myself back to the question of how would I do that? Stand up and be proud and tell people who you are and what you've got, So generally speaking, depends on where I am. If I'm in Darlington, I go to a Darlington networking group. I just stand up and say I'm the owner of Endeavour Windows, because people know it. It's a bit of a household. It's a bit of a name. It's got a showroom, and I'm a finance. And you just introduce them all. You don't want to be the jack of all trades, master of none. But then that's up for you to prove that And I mean, it only takes a couple of before I came on here to check you're not a pretender. Well, I just laid a few links out for you. You realised before what come on, you knew exactly what was going to be sat in front of you today. Do you know where I'm coming from? And it's just supply it with a bit of evidence, and no one's going to go, bloody hell, if it's kitchens, bathrooms, windows, now he does a bit of electrical work, because I know that you can be a bit of a jack of all trades, but I think if you have yourself and building that brand of, like I said to you before, I focus on building the Josh Thompson brand as because everyone's a brand. It doesn't matter where you are a brand, whether you like it or not. You become the person where you're the go-to person for whatever. Yeah.
To play a little bit of devil's advocate on that, do you think if you focused on one thing, that one thing would grow and surpass the others collectively?
So it's another good question. If you focus on one thing, I would say there's an element of yes, definitely. But also there's an element of personal income of what you're used to, what you need. So I would say yes, but you also need a team around you. The beauty of what I've got is I have time to work on all the businesses. So I have time to speak to anyone. So when you've got to grow a business, do I have the time to sit 50 leads a week and sell windows in someone's house? No, definitely not. Do I have the time to build that business? And when we were talking earlier, you said, would you potentially have salespeople? Well, if it gets to the point of where we cannot cover the leads, you don't have the choice. You do not have that choice. You don't have the luxury of pushing them back, So you have to get people in, and with growth becomes teams, And the question I would ask for you is, do you think if Stephen Bartlett concentrated on one thing, he'd be where he is now?
It's a good question. I think what's important, I think it's you built Endeavour Windows. So did you get it to a point where you were happy with it and then done the next thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's follow one course until successful.
Yeah, and well, where you don't have to work in it every day is a big thing. You know, like if you're working in all the businesses, it's super difficult. So, like I said to you before, with my wife Laura, I used to do the hot tubs. I'd go out, I'd finance a car when I wasn't very busy. I'd go and sit some window appointments, then have to speak to some fitters, and then have to go and drain a hot tub with a pump because I had some guests coming in. Friday was a nightmare, you know. So yes, you can't spin 1,000 plates. You just can't. You need people around you, without a doubt. So, yeah, my holiday lets. I mean, I do love them. I like that I own them. But in terms of could I work in them? No, I don't have the time. Impossible.
And it comes down to like personality types and traits, doesn't it? Because entrepreneurs naturally want to do different things and challenge themselves and, you know, do what they enjoy, which is ultimately, you know, you just sell. Yeah,
absolutely. And sell yourself, you know. And one thing I would say about networking groups is that the first thing you need to be able to sell is yourself. And one thing that direct sales will teach you is how to sell yourself, because that's the first thing you've got to do. You know, it's not good out have the best product in the world, but if someone's not buying into you, just don't it. It's non-starter. You know, and one of the best teachings I've ever had in my life is direct sales. You know, because you don't have long to make people believe in you. Do you know where I'm coming from? It's like that is a skill, and I would advise anyone wanting advice, anyone who's a little bit lost in life, and you think you might, you know, you could sell something, or even if you don't think you could sell something, you might hate it, go and have a little stab at direct sales, selling something. Because believe me, and I am absolute living proof of this. I'm living proof. If you can sell something, you are worth something to a business owner. Once they've poured the knowledge in, you'll know this, but with all the people you speak to, the product knowledge is not what takes all of the sale. It might take 20% of the sale. It's people believing in you, and yes, you have to have the product has to be decent, but people are buying into you. So if anyone was listening to this that wanted some advice on what to do when you're lost, go and fit yourself in a sales role, a direct sales role, chuck yourself out there. Worst case scenario, you'll get some life experience, or you'll find out if you don't like something. But one thing you will feel is you'll be in front of people, and all that, them people you naturally get put in front of, don't waste that time. Absorb, because you will learn something off everyone. In the weirdest of places on earth, you know, from the oldest of people to the youngest of people, you will pick up on these little things that you can implement in your life. And if you're just careful enough to listen to them and note them down, you will be so far ahead of them people in your age bracket. Don't get me wrong, there's these people who do one-hit wonders online and the business is great and that's them set for life. Let's be realistic, it doesn't happen to most people, but what you can do is learn a lot. I can have a conversation about some of the weirdest things way beyond my knowledge capabilities, whether it's accounting, whether it's biology, whether I'm talking to a heart surgeon. You know, I was with a customer who was a heart consultant, and I'm talking to him about bicuspid and tricuspid valves. There's no way should I be having that conversation, but, you know, when you have these conversations, your knowledge just naturally picks up, and, you know, and you can use it, and just, you know, it never leaves. You know, and the more you learn, and chuck yourself into a sales role, because the amount of people you can sit in front of just by turning up day to day is just insane.
What's next? What do you want to achieve over the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, it's good. That's a good question for now, because I'm definitely at that point where I don't know. You know, I am, and I think this is the next. It's the next hurdle for me. I want to build on the Josh Thompson for sure. You know, where that leads to. Just because I think part of the story. I mean, I'm living proof of getting, you know, being on the track of where you can improve your life. You know, you don't stay in. I want to give that knowledge to people, whether that is just the start of someone. If I can speak to someone who's sat there twiddling his thumbs, and I've seen this already, where people just get into a sales role, start doing something, they start making, then they're a homeowner. Do you know what? And it's just that little kick. And sometimes it's not pouring more time into things. It's people hearing your story, you know. So, I mean, all the stuff that I've got is just normal stuff. It sounds quite good because it's all been quite funny. But if someone is listening to this now and goes, do you know what? I'll have a crack at being a double glazing salesman. Look where that lad's going. Do you know what I mean? And all this takes is someone to be sat up, bored out of their brains at 11 o'clock tonight, And they'll go, I'll have a listen to that. But look, do you know what? I've seen him. I know that lad. And I didn't really know that was the story. Do you know where I'm coming from? And you don't have to have the sexiest job in the world to put yourself where you need to be. And everyone I speak to, like I say, I'm fortunate enough to meet people in places now where just, I probably wouldn't have ever thought I would get in them rooms, and you speak to them, and the majority of people that are in places in high positions, it's never that sexy, the story. Do you know where I'm coming from? It's never, it's not this big flash life. It's always a bit of grind or a bit of grit and, a bit of luck, just fell in your lap at the right time. That little bit of luck that way they jumped on the opportunity when it came. And I mean, if, like I say, if I can the big thing I like to say coming on here for me is good. And I just want people to have a bit of a better understanding, because there'll be loads of people who know me and go, Josh, not that keen on him, a bit of a cock, isn't he? But sometimes you're perceived completely different online to what you are in real life. I've had loads of people meet me and go, I didn't actually know you were that sound. Thought you were a bit of a knob. Probably I'm a bit of a knob, but you can't be everyone's flavour as well. So the big thing for me is learn about yourself, and what is next. I mean, I'd like to know what is next, but I'm not a bit of a point where just keep businesses stable, work on that growth slowly. I'm all about slow growth, because quick growth I just see as massive risk, definitely. And just structure, implementing performance, and I've been working on a lot at Endeavour Windows, efficiency of the business, streamlining it, keeping it really lean. So one, the customer gets better value. Two, avoiding price increases, and also remaining profitable. That's a big thing. So I'm working on strategy stuff, how to be more efficient. As in for investments, there's nothing on my radar at the moment. But yeah, just going out more, meeting, greeting, talking to other business owners, learning other people's stories, because it's not all about you. But listen to other people's journeys, and if you can give someone a bit of help on the way, that's great, because like I say, I listen to a lot of things, and it's all right having a load of knowledge and a load of stories, but if I was to snuff it tomorrow, they all go with me. So why not leave a little bit behind? Because if you leave a little bit behind, you might just help someone out.
I can honestly say that this has been the podcast where I've sat through, and I know this has the most value in it for people listening. Honestly, I can say that. I think there's got the most golden nuggets, the most value in this podcast.
Yeah, I think you might be right, because I'm a normal lad. I had a normal job. Normal lad. You see me, what you see is what you get. You might not like it, but it's real. It's real, end of argument. That's just what it is. And you could speak to any of my friends, and my personality has never changed. I might have actually become nicer. I might have actually got better with time. And like I said before, and I'll say it over and over again, you don't have to have the best job in the world. You don't have to be the brightest person. Anyone who knows me will know that I am not the brightest person, but I will work hard. I will work long. If the deal has to be done at 1 a.m, it's getting done at 1 a.m. If I have to miss social events because my career comes first, then that is what will happen. And these are the little lifestyle choices that you make over time, and I can promise you these things compound. When I was a bit younger and I was working for someone else, and I would go out and bit of a party lifestyle, and I can tell you that I'm not a big drinker now. I try and avoid it at all costs. I'm the first person that when a night out comes up, I can't wait to tell a lie to get out of it. Oh, how do I get out of that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. These little changes to life, and I'm not saying kill your fun and don't be a socialist and go and work your brains out. Don't do that. Just be moderate about everything, and you don't need to be out every week. If you're out every week, believe me, your dreams aren't in that pub, mate. I will tell you that for a fact. But people will be in there talking about what you're doing. Do you know where I'm coming from? Let them do the networking for you. Let all the small-minded people talk about you. Go and make good lifestyle choices. Focus on yourself. And these little changes, 1% better. And I say this to Endeavour all the time. I think I'm crazy. I said, well, can we just make this place 1% better? Because if we make it 1% better today, and we do the same thing again next month, and we do that, we get 1% better every month. We're 10% better. This tiny little change that you think is absolute drivel that I'm talking, we just get better, don't we? And the better we get, the more efficient we get, the less stress we have in the office, and everyone has a better time. The more opportunity we have for that. And I mean, these little changes in your personal life, like I get tortured. I go out, I drink shandy because I don't want to be getting absolutely mortaled. That's not me. It's just not me. And, today, You know, I'm here wanting to talk to you. You've got to be looking people in the eye. And the same doesn't matter whether you're a customer, doesn't matter whether you're having an interview, doesn't matter whether you're talking to your mum, your dad, or you're having a serious conversation. You need to be there. You know, you need to be engaged. And, you know, the more you can engage in any aspect, from life, from job, from work, you know, if you can really get into a level of conversation where people go, I like being around him, I want to talk about him, opportunities will just fall in your lap. You know, people push things your way. And, you know, that's it. I mean, I hope people do take stuff away from this, because, like I say, if you do have a normal job, normal career, and you think there's no growth to it, don't be bitter about it. Just get that a little bit better.
If there was only one piece of advice you could give to your younger self, what would it be? Only one.
Oh, I'd rather give a bit more. If there was one bit of advice I could give to my younger self, that is a big question. That, you know what, that's a massive question for me, because there's loads of advice I needed when I was younger, like so much. Yeah. Oh, what would it be? There's not many times I'm stuck for words. This has got me. I mean, be more humble, maybe. You know, because I would say be a little bit more humble. But then when I say that, by not being humble, people respected me very early doors in the stuff I was in. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Do you know where I'm coming from?
You need to have that little bit of summit, that little bit of delusion, that little bit of...
Yeah.
You know, it just makes...
I mean, be humble, but maybe he's not too humble, yeah?
Yeah.
Because don't be too humble, because you might just not... Yeah, be humble.
But not too humble.
But not too humble.
I think that's a good place to
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on, bud.
Mate, it's been a pleasure.
Cheers, bud.